Function, pumping and dumping, manipulate the market, flooded from the darknet, flooded from the deep web, keep it a secret. Every exchange got the nerdy brains trading on the frequent.
Okay, so hopefully everything will be working here. Let's do the transition. It's never a DCG 201 episode unless everyone's horribly late. And why is the camera all... Guess that's best. That's gonna go. Hey everyone out there on the interwebs. Welcome to this live stream in today's episode. Who am I? You might be asking, who am I? I am Sidepocket. That's what at least people call me on the internet. I am one of the two co-founders of DCG 201, formerly known as DEF CON 201. And thank you, Speedy NYC, for following us. We haven't even started yet, and we already got a follow, but thank you so much, Speedy, for following us. But as I was saying, I'm one of the two co-founders for DCG 201, formerly known as DEF CON 201 or DC 201. We are one of the many awesome computer hacker groups, part of DEF CON groups that are across the United States and around the world. Of course, DEF CON being the major hacker convention, one of the biggest ones in the world that takes place in Las Vegas. This year it's going to be in August, and we actually plan on finally attending this DEF CON because it's 30 years old. DEF CON's about to have a midlife crisis, and I can't wait for that. But we're just simply a group that tries to, bring a bunch of hackers and tinkerers and just cool, like-minded people involved in technology in like a non-Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos sense, all together. And normally we do that by meeting once a month, every third Friday of the month. However, since I want to say March of 2020, because 2020, we have been live streaming pretty much all of our activities, and this upcoming meetup, we plan to announce more details this Monday. It's either going to be on the 18th, or we might actually move it to the 19th. Regardless, when we post those details, we're also going to let people know that it's going to be entirely online, just for the safety and convenience for everyone, especially with the crazy stuff going on with DCG 201 behind the scenes. Not that there's like drama or anything, but just like putting things together. We're going to do that entirely online in March. We're going to go to back to the hybrid format, where we meet in person, but we'll stream parts of it online. There'll be exclusive stuff in person, like raffles and things, because it's going to be our 5-year anniversary. It's going to be great. That's what we normally do, is every third Friday of the month. However, because again, the pandemic, we have been since 2020 doing various live streams for different topics that interest us and interest the hacker community in general. And this is one of my two shows, the other one being Master of Unlocking, that happens every first and second Sunday. This, however, is called, there's the corner, crypt, there we go, Crypto Barons. That was not smooth. But yeah, I always keep forgetting it's mirrored. In the lower right corner, you can see our logo. This is the show where, when you look up cool blockchain and cryptocurrency stuff, you are going to get, and I just remembered something to type in, you are going to get just a ton of, what's that called? Oh yeah, horse shit on various cryptocurrency technologies. You're going to get a lot of snake oil and hyperbolic bullshit about like how they're using revolutionary AI and all of these API systems and blah blah. It's going to save the world, and we're going to make $1 billion and all of that. And sometimes we get a little bit into finance, and sometimes we get into some community stuff. But what Crypto Barons is particularly about, hold on a second as I type this in. What's particularly about, let me find this. There we go. Is that we are going to look at blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies as technologies, meaning, what's the white paper for this? Do they have a GitHub or GitLab? Let's look at the code they have available. This is how this thing works. What do these terms mean? Do they have a test net? Do they have a wallet? Do they have interesting applications? Can we run them? That type of stuff. That's what we've been doing for our episodes. So today's episode, um, let me figure this out. Today's episode is something that I was actually introduced to because, as you probably all know, we tried to do this for charity, but it didn't fully work out. In terms of, we got awesome tons of money, and thank you all for who donated. But it's more of that, I forgot to extend the deadline for the charity, for the actual charity, so whoopsies. But you probably remember me being zombie half asleep for live streaming FOSDEM, which sucked that I was half asleep because of the way time zones work. Simply because it was, well, for what I saw, it was freaking awesome. It was so much like, I got to be introduced to so many cool technologies and glossary terms and things. It was just really cool. Like, I very much, I very much like learned just so much stuff during that and watching the recap of when I kept falling asleep. And one of the most interesting things about FOSDEM this year, for free and open source software, was they had a Web3 section. This was actually controversial because, when you hear Web3, there's a lot. Like Web3 didn't even get to properly introduce itself before Elon Musk and the Snake Oil gang came out and just ruined the entire term. Where basically Web3 for most people is just Web 2.0, but a full-on Ponzi scheme. And that sucks because that's not exactly what it is. There's some really cool stuff being made by awesome hackers, and it's just sidelined because Elon Musk farted a banana and called it Web3, and now that's what everyone thinks of it. So it was very controversial to have one of these at the con, but I thought they did a great job of focusing on like actual policies and demoing like technologies that are based on Web3 concepts instead of everyone just mass circle jerking each other. I'm pretty sure that's going to be now a GIF meme. And one of the things that kept popping up over and over again on that Web3 section is this whole thing called Holochain, which I never heard of before. And I looked into pieces of it, and some of this I already know beforehand. Some of this is going to be mainly one of those episodes where and I um we go in and I'm like going in like half to two-thirds blind. I have no idea what any of this stuff is. And so we're basically going to learn what Holochain is together. And I really notice how bad the bag's underneath my eyes. Normally, by the way, Crypto Barons happens at 8 p.m. It usually happens second to fourth Saturday of every month. However, I had a long night that went into the day hanging out with a bunch of really cool friends and more than friends. If I want to be completely honest, and that's why I even debated of streaming today, and I can't stream tomorrow because I have a different thing to go in the afternoon, and then I have work for the rest of the week. So I was like, you know what, I will stream today, but I'll just simply stream later. We'll catch some cool midnight streams at the end with Twitch. Will be fun. Um, but yeah, and when we come back on the 26th, because February is such a short goddamn month, we'll be back at the 8 p.m. time, obviously streaming on Saturdays. And before we look at HoloNet, I also just want to remind a couple of things. First of all, if you like the content that you're going to see today, however that turns out, because it might success or fail, because usually we're going to run code today. This is one of those episodes. In real time, we're going to F it, do it live, and the demo gods are going to hate us. It's going to be fun. But if you like the content that you see for this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe completely for free on our three major platforms, Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. As you saw with the intro to the episode, we get little notifications that pop up, and when we do, we cheer those people on. In addition to that, I love talking to chat. I will literally stop whatever I'm doing to talk to chat as long as it's not like lame trolls. Like if you're gonna troll, at least troll like in a cool way, like in an actual funny way, instead of just like, oh, I hit F5. I'm Leet Haxor, and it's like, no, you're not. You just here's your feed, go away. But if you have any questions about Holochain, what this show is, am I a rivet head? Why is my head shaped like a rivet? Why is this hair the way it is? You can talk in chat. I love talking to chat. But if you are also, which I often do on Twitch and DLive, and are just gonna sit there and lurk and just watch to learn shit, as I always keep saying each episode, keep lurking and keep learning. Okay. If you want to know more about us, and trust me, then it's going to be, I've seen snippets of things we're going to try to cover today, and we also have a bunch of videos, and it's like, bleh. But if you're curious, even though we have it listed below visually, I just put the link to our website and at dcg201.org. You can also put in defcon201.org, our old name. We have a bunch of stuff on social media, particularly on Twitter at defcon21nj or Instagram at defcon201. We're also on the Hostux instance of Mastodon. We have our own .onion, which we're going to reconfigure. We have a GitHub, which we're going to be using a lot of today, in particular. Because again, we're going to be looking at code. So if you're interested in any of that, I just posted the link tree in the chat, although for some reason it apparently did not load into Twitch. I don't know why. Let's try that again. Okay, it's probably just an internet error. And lastly, we are streaming. I'm still trying to get PeerTube going. I slept all day. I literally woke up at 11 a.m. today, so I like ran out of time. But I am going to be working on PeerTube the rest of the week. The whole goal is by the time the meeting starts, our online meeting, PeerTube should finally be working again. But we also have a Facebook for all the people who are stuck in Metaverse Zuckerberg land, and you can chat with us if you're watching from there. However, because Facebook doesn't like everyone, especially Restream, which is what we're using, you kind of have to hack Facebook in order to get the chat to work. So I just put the link in the chat if you're on Facebook of where you could go to actually chat with us in real time in the chat. Okay, cool. So let me take a sip of this drink that I'm definitely going to refill at some point. And let's take a look at ye old Holochain. It's interesting because like I was trying to do like a clickbaity title this episode where it's like Holochain. Is it a hollow promise? So I literally have no idea. I have a vague idea what it is, but we're gonna kind of find out. I hope I hit that rest that good F button. There we go. So this is the website. As you can see, we haven't updated it in a while. We are going to be working on that very soon, just because we've been shuffling a lot of things around. Let's get right into it. So before we get in the Hollow chain, we have to look at it's not Hollow dot host, which seems to be like this is similar to like Polkadot. I know I believe some parts of it I think are based off of Ethereum, so I think this is yet another Ethereum fork. But um, like the whole thing about Hollow is that it is a suite of tools to develop applications for. So again, think of it like Ethereum, think of it like Polkadot, think of it like Oxen, where they're not there is a cryptocurrency attached to it because blockchain, but this is more of building an infrastructure. Mm. Building an infrastructure in order to for other hackers to make cool things, rather than just like some odd technology that they're just deploying for one use case. So we have to look at everything at the source here. And so their pitch is that they want to build a distributed cloud hosting marketplace for peer-to-peer applications. And there's two kind of main forms. There's Hollow, which has a different bunch of suits behind it, of like different, like probably corporate suits too, but like just different types of technologies. And then probably the main thing that came from this that grew so big that is its same thing is the Holochain, which is the open source network blockchain in of itself. There's also two sub things we're going to look at, which is Hollow Fuel, which they write is the internal microcurrency that powers the Hollow network, and then the actual ERC20 token that's convertible to Hollow Fuel, just simply called Hollow Token or HOT. And there's a bunch of applications that are showed and all sorts of stuff like that. We're gonna get there when we get there. But before we get into like the white paper, um, I want to do some recon here, as we usually do on this show. Freaking gnats. Not computer gnats, like there's literally like a bug. There we go. Gnats deed. You saw that? I just did a bug bounty right there. There's a little bug, and then I squashed it, and now I'm gonna curry it and get a bounty from it. It's great. But let's do some recon. And what I mean by recon here is, let me just adjust this a little bit. There we go. What I mean by recon is that occasionally, I always try to play videos every episode of Crypto Barons, but we usually try to find videos that are directly from the horse's mouth. In this case, the Hollow Foundation themselves. Now, obviously these videos they want to show a positive light to themselves. They're very prophetic. Also, by the way, if you're wondering what this thing is to the upper right of the screen, called an Incent reward. You go to get.incent.com, you download the Incent wallet, and you're going to scan the QR code or manually type the code. You get a little bit of cryptocurrency called Incent, and you can transfer it to any other cryptocurrency. And if you transfer it to something like Litecoin or Bitcoin or something, you could also then convert that into the fiat money of your choice to pull out. So it's just a cool way to get cryptocurrency and possibly actual money while like real world tangible money while watching our show. We've been using it for a while. With all our research, we don't think this is a scam or anything. It seems to work out for us. We're not sponsored by them. Just letting you know what those pop-ups and sounds are. But and also, by the way, for all of our D Live watchers, D Live, whatever you want to call it, at the end, and I'm thinking it's going to be between 11. It's going to be like between 11:30 and midnight. When this episode ends, we're going to attempt to do the treasure box. So we're going to be dumping a bunch of lemons, and who's ever there at between like 10:30 and midnight when we do it is going to get a bunch of lemons. That's what we usually do on the show. And then for Twitch, we're going to raid someone else's stream. And it seems like everyone's going on the live stream, so that was fun. But yeah, we're going to watch at least 2 videos from the Holo Foundation that runs the Holo suits of peer-to-peer tools and the Holochain themselves. And it's good recon because, one, you get to see what a entity wants to present itself as, which is always a good like resource. And two, you also get to see what their goals and aspirations for what they're working on. That's a great thing where even if this was a scam and this isn't, this is like actual development tools. It's just a great way to kind of just know what you're getting into before something happens. So we have 2 intro videos here. So the first one is kind of like that general, like every blockchain cryptocurrency thing always has that video with the smooth talking female voice of like, what is blah blah blah? Blah 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 is a decentralized ER32 token game changer Puff Daddy simulator. Like they always have that with like the words, hey, SCJ 643. We're about to just watch one of the videos. So this is that video where it's the one with the smooth voice, and she's gonna explain to us like we're 5 what Holochain is. So let's get to watching that.
We use the internet to make plans, connect, work, and play together. The internet hosts our lives. So why do we entrust it to organizations who don't always have our best interests at heart? Most of our communications flow through centralized web servers where corporations control our online experience. They collect our information, limit our access to it, and then sell it to advertisers. And because a centralized internet concentrates power, it's vulnerable. It can be censored, hacked, and manipulated. The internet is broken.
Oh no!
But what if no one stood between you and your data, or dictated how you connect with friends, family, and community? If the internet were free from central control, it would vastly expand humanity's potential for creativity and collaboration. It would change the whole game. We know this world is possible, which is why we created Holo. Holo is a community rebuilding the internet by and for the users. Rather than running our information through centralized servers like Facebook and Google, the Holo network replaces the middleman with the spare computing power from our own devices. This creates a cloud run by people like you and me, helping us to take back control of our data and online relationships. Holo does to app hosting what Airbnb did to hotels. Anyone can turn their computer into a source of revenue by becoming an app host and get paid in Holo fuel for hosting peer-to-peer applications. The Holo software runs in the background, allocating spare storage and processing power to serve distributed apps to users and customers. More than just file hosting, Holo is a marketplace for hosting peer-to-peer applications. Apps available on Holo are built on Holochain, the next generation of blockchain technology that is massively faster, more customizable, infinitely scalable, and 10,000 times cheaper. Holochain makes a new paradigm of peer-to-peer apps possible. That's great news for developers and decentralized projects looking for flexibility and performance to build applications as large as Facebook that can scale up organically. Holo's native currency, HoloFuel, is optimized for high volumes of microtransactions in order to account for the trillions of tiny actions that Holochain apps make possible. That means in-app micropayments are easy and inexpensive. The infrastructure of the Holo network is built and ready to grow with demand. Elemental Chat, our proof of concept app, demonstrates that fully distributed apps can be accessed by anyone using a simple web browser. And there are already thousands of Holo ports worldwide ready to serve the peer-to-peer apps that will help us build a new future. We believe collaborative applications and new digital tools are necessary for us to meet the complexity and challenges we face in the world today. Imagine a new internet, one that doesn't impose or exploit, but empowers.
The choir
where we can
just
support
came.
Who and what matters most to us and build a sustainable future for us all. That world is possible, and we need your imagination and participation to build a better web.
So, if I wasn't so tired, basically that video is almost like a parody of like these type of videos that you see in various blockchain and cryptocurrency projects that have any form of success and or finance backing it. So we got everything here. We got the smooth, innocent woman's voice. We got random crowd shots of people walking in streets heavily congested. We got some random person hiking on a cliff. Uh, People furiously typing on computers. Interesting wording too. For example, like as a gamer, when I hear microtransactions, I don't think of good things. So like that's an interesting choice of words. I could have just said, oh, different monetizing methods, but like they were like microtransactions, which when I think of that, I think of the star cards, from Battlefield 2, and I'm like, why would I want that? It'd be like, someone trying to describe how aggressive someone is in like getting what they want, and instead of just saying, oh yeah, that person is like very determined, they were like, oh, they're a serial killer, and it's like, what? Like, why would you use those words? That's like such a bad choice of words, to be honest. So that video kind of had everything in it, but we did glean some stuff of what they really want to focus on. It seems like their main thing is this idea of decentralization and peer-to-peer. Now, like most products, Holo tends to act like it's the only blockchain network that's trying to be a decentralized network from the ground up, and this is nothing new. In fact, I'm hoping in a couple of episodes from now, because I have to email back and forth with these people, we're going to cover an earlier and still going on project that's similar to this that's called the Sky Network with Skycoin. So while there's not a ton of these, Holo is just one of many. Like we covered Oxen before, we've covered ZeroNet, of like using blockchain technologies in order to build decentralized systems. And also to note about any of these, it's the same thing that people keep talking about with Tor, that I'm glad the Tor Foundation points out, which is that all of this is the internet. Like even if you use Tor, like it's a darknet, but it's a darknet, it's onion routing within the internet. So when you're running Holochain, you're still going through the normal centralized internet. It's just you're going through the centralized internet to then connect to a decentralized network. Another thing about this is that I am very much for decentralization in general, okay? Both in like politics and in computing. I'm not an anarchist though. Those people are weird and they're way too obsessed with their cats, even compared to normal people. But the issue is that they're saying decentralize, like the way like it's a magic bullet somehow, right? Like they like there's problems with both systems. They obviously point out that in a centralized system, it's really easy to just hit one target and take off a ton of devices and platforms that are connected to it. That is very much an actual thing. The kind of counterbalance of that is that if you fix the one thing, you can fix that entire internet. So, for example, what if a malicious hacker managed to make a what they call H-app, which is their version of a dApp? I don't know why they have their own terms. Maybe they're like Apple, whatever. But imagine if someone managed to pass off what looks like a normal H-app, but it's actually malware. The only way you'd be able to mitigate the damage from that is to have an insanely good public relations to get the word out. Because even with like absurd like I don't know Google push notifications level, not only are people going to download that malicious code that's on the decentralized network like HoloNet, but like there's no way to get rid of it. Like once it's on the decentralized network, you can't take it down because that's how they built the network. So that malicious software will forever be on that network and can be still accessed by everyone, even in years in the future. Even if you patch your machine, you could still download that piece of malware. Like there's no way to blast it off the internet like you could with there's stuff like Stuxnet and things like that, and errors like Log4j. You can update one centralized source and it will fix it for everyone. You can't do that with these decentralized systems. So even you have to have an insanely good word of mouth. And even if you have insanely good word of mouth, that still becomes difficult. Well, yeah, that's sort of the corporate video. We're going to watch one more video, and then we're going to do a ton of stuff, and then we're going to go back to looking at videos when we look at some of the technologies that are leveraging. They don't even. I say HoloNet, they go HoloNet, like it's like Han Holo or something like that. San Holo. There we go. That Han Solo, San Holo. The OC do not steal. But the next video is a slightly longer video with one of the engineers of this network, and we're going to listen to this video, and he's going to get a bit more in depth to explain a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like centralized networks and stuff, but it's a little bit more techie as I look over the white paper, and then I'm going to show you what I gleaned from the video and stuff that I've already seen just glancing over the white paper. So let's hear, instead of marketing, I mean, this is still done through marketing, but let's hear what someone who actually is working on the HoloNet project explaining what all this shit is.
Hello, my name is Paul, and I'm with the Holochain project, where my job is to figure out how to explain Holochain to the world. What it is, how it works, and why you should care. Sometimes it feels like a big job, like I'm being asked to describe reality in one paragraph and give at least 3 examples. Not that I think that Holochain equals reality or anything, but reality and Holochain are both kind of complex. Not complicated, which is kind of a bad word in engineering, but just that the level of complexity is appropriate to the problem at hand. And maybe that's the best place to start. What problem is Holochain actually trying to solve? Generally, it's the same problem that everyone in the dApp space is trying to solve. Concentration of power, which leads to loss of human agency, which leads to all sorts of other nasties. Everything from my internet is down and I can't access my reports now to a major democratic nation just got hacked by social media and now it's throwing 500 errors. But when you take the big organization out of the middle, it gets a bit messy. With no police force, there's no way to tell who or what can be trusted. And infrastructure can break down too, and there's nobody to fix it. These are serious usability problems, and the centralized world has largely figured them out, for better or for worse. Centralization means maintainability and simplicity for engineers, and top-down enforceable safety and reliability for users. And the dApp needs to figure these problems out, or nobody's going to want to use it. We just want the simplicity, reliability, and safety of the centralized internet, along with the self-determination that people want. Is that too much to ask? That's why the decentralized world spends so much of its effort on system integrity. Depending on the application, that means different things. It could be event ordering, availability, access control, authentication, data validity. Now, before I get into how Holochain tackles these issues differently, there's a few plain details that I want to share about what it actually is. Holochain is a framework for building peer-to-peer applications. It aims to ensure system integrity without needing central coordination. There's no servers and there's no blockchain ledger. Each application enjoys its own isolated network built by all the people who use it without any particular maintenance effort on their part. So now that we know what Holochain is, let's go back to how it tackles system integrity. So now, while blockchain inherits the centralized world's assumption that there must be a single authoritative truth, Holochain starts with a simple observation about the real world. The only thing that really exists is individual agents making observations and then taking actions, and most of the time that works out pretty okay. That's because as we gather information, we share our observations with others, and we receive their observations in turn, and gradually everybody's perspectives converge on a pretty decent approximation of the truth. Now, let's see how this works in practice. So in Holochain, the basic ontological unit is the agent. That's you, or rather the software that runs on your behalf. For every application you use, the Holochain runtime hosts a piece of code on your machine called the application's DNA. You exercise your agency in this application the same way you always do on a computer. You do something, and it triggers a function call. The difference here is that everything is happening on your machine. Your DNA exposes some functions as an agent-facing API, and these functions can write data, retrieve data, process it, and connect with other agents in the network. Now, whenever the DNA wants to change local state, Holochain records that action in an event journal. There's one journal for each application. And your DNA is also expected to expose a set of functions that act as a validation API. They encode the rules that define what valid data looks like. What squares is the night allowed to move to? How long is a tweet? Can you have a negative balance on your account? Who's allowed to look at the company directory and who can add new entries? Now, since you and your peers judge each other's integrity based on the data that you produce, this is pretty darn important. These rules govern the actions of the group of people who belong to the application's network. They prevent you from accidentally doing something bad, and they help you detect malicious intent in the people that you're interacting with. So this is Holochain's first pillar of system integrity, intrinsic data validity. The application's validation rules, plus some basic cryptographic proofs provided by Holochain itself, help you deterministically answer the question, given what I can see, does everything look correct? But a lot of peer-to-peer technologies do that. For most applications, especially finance, law, governance, that's not quite enough. You also need to know things like, is what I'm seeing everything that there is to see? You need some way of knowing that the person you're about to buy a house from, for instance, hasn't already sold that same house to somebody else last week. So for this, Holochain adds peer witnessing. You see, some of the data that you write to your journal gets shared. First, of course, any application data that's meant for other people to see, like tweets and other public things, but also the header for each of your journal entries. Then a small random selection of your peers gets that data that you produce, validate it against their copy of the rules, and then they store it. This creates a shared database for the application. It's held collectively by all the users. This is great for availability, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but the important thing here is that the network remembers what you've done. And the most basic rule, the rule shared by all Holochain applications, is that you can't modify data that you've already written to your journal. It's an event log, it's not a random access table or anything like that. And if any of your peers catch you tampering with this journal, they remember this and report it to the next person who wants to check up on you. So the other thing that your peers do is they check the integrity of all the application data that gets published to the shared database. The neat thing about this is that if any of it breaks the application's rules, the validators broadcast a message. It's kind of like an antibody that lets others identify the bad actor. This gives the network a sort of immune system that lets it respond more rapidly and efficiently to threats. Rather than waiting for someone to discover invalid data when they retrieve it, the validators can sound the alarm as soon as it's published and take action. Usually that looks like ejecting the bad actor from the network. So this is sounding kind of complicated, but fortunately all this stuff either happens in the background or is abstracted behind an SDK that gives you pretty straightforward data points for your code to act on. Now, going back to availability, spreading the data across all the users' machines also makes the whole thing more resilient to network disruptions. You always have access to your own data, even when you're offline. And there's a pretty good chance that you and your office mates on the same network can still connect with each other and share the information that you do have. This helps reduce lost days of productivity because some poor admin fat-fingered a command in a faraway data center. Not that that's ever happened to any of us. Anyway, nice thing about dropping the need for a single source of truth is that Holochain is just a lot more responsive and efficient than blockchain. There's no effort wasted on reaching global consensus, and because only a small selection of peers holds each piece of data, the individual burden of participation is pretty light. We expect that for most applications, it'll be light enough for a smartphone. In fact, in our early tests, we managed to run 50 instances of a DAO-like application on a Raspberry Pi, which is not that bad. So enough about how Holochain works under the hood. What can you actually build with it? Well, pretty much just normal apps. It's just a framework. It's just one that happens to not need a server in the middle. You can build online communities, team productivity tools, knowledge repositories, supply chains, IoT networks, financial apps, etc., etc. And it even has some value as a local first plus cloud backup system for your own personal data. So you might be wondering, what's it like to build a Holochain app? Well, I won't lie, it's definitely different. Some of your design choices will get harder. For instance, when there's no single source of truth and not everything lives in one place, you might have to get clever about how you model and represent data. The shared database is just a big hash table with links between records. So you do have to think of it as sort of a graph database. And you have to think about what data is safe to share and what should stay private on people's devices. But other things actually get a lot easier. For instance, security and scaling and uptime are a lot more manageable because there's no centralized failure points. And in terms of modeling user-centered business logic, all of your code runs from the perspective of the individual agent, and there's no such thing as user registrations and logins. Everyone just represents themselves with a public key that they create. And niceness is built in. You don't have to worry quite as much about the moral or legal impact of data collection because privacy is kind of default. Users aren't locked into a particular way of interacting with your application either because the app runs on their machines and they can call the API of the application however they like. And they can always take their data with them if they decide to leave. And if you're used to writing blockchain applications, it's a bit more forgiving. Upgrading an app or forking a network isn't a governance crisis like it is on blockchain. It's just a normal part of the DevOps cycle. So where is Holochain at right now? Is it ready to build on? Holochain isn't production stable or feature complete yet, but it's definitely ready to start hacking and prototyping on. We've spent the last year refactoring it based on feedback from devs and our own learnings, and devs are telling us it's pretty nice to work with now. So if you want to start working on a Holochain app, here are some details that you need to know. DNAs, the back end of your application, run in a WebAssembly sandbox. So you'll need to write in a language that compiles to WASM. And we've also got an SDK for Rust, which makes things easier. You can write your front end with any language, framework, or toolkit that you like. You just need to remember that it runs on your users' devices. It talks to their locally running Holochain runtime using RPC calls over WebSocket. Now, in terms of platform support, Holochain and the dev tools run on Linux or Windows 10 with WSL2 or any machine with a Linux VM. And we're also working on native macOS and Windows support. Now, mobile isn't supported yet, but getting Holochain working on resource-constrained devices has always been a top priority for us. So that'll help when we do start looking at mobile. The networking code works. All traffic is end-to-end encrypted. And we run a public bootstrap server to help peers discover each other, and a public proxy server to help punch through NAT gateways and firewalls. There's a small but growing ecosystem of tools, libraries, and learning materials to help you get started, and the community is just really lovely and really supportive. And lastly, we're building a hosting service, decentralized of course, called Holohost, which will let you offer your apps to users over the traditional web. And that's it. Thanks for joining me, and I hope all this made sense, and I'm excited to start talking with you about Holochain in the Q&A. See you there.
I think that's the first time I have ever heard we built something in Rust to make things easier. I know I should have Rust all the time because, I'm not that great at it, but I just thought that was an interesting thing. So that was a way more deep dive into the kind of fanciful bullshit. I mean, there were still some like high in the pie kind of values, even if some of those values I agree with kind of like quail hair, with like decentralization and like privacy and not spying and stuff. But we got a bit more details. It seems like they're very much inspired by a pseudo idea of what biology is, or like immune system biology, which is kind of funny considering we're in a pandemic right now. However, let me just double check here because I'm updating two different Linux subsystems for some of the programming stuff we're about to do later on. What was I getting at? Let me take another sip for crypto barons. All of you hashes and blocks out there. So my whole thing is like, so that sort of partly answered my question about, well, what if someone puts a piece of malware? It's still susceptible for 51% attacks because everyone has to vote on an action. So if you combine, I mean, it's tricky, but if you combine like a 51% sort of voting attack with a piece of malicious software, especially considering this would, I think, be a great target because apparently they use various methods to automatically punch holes through firewalls, which is like ransomware's person's dream right there. Uh, but if you combine the voting like with with the actual software attack, you could get some very devastating stuff on this network. Now, of course, kind of similar to network itself, this is conceptual. I don't know if they've addressed this my ideas before, and I also don't know. I haven't tested this out on their testnet or anything. I was, however, while we were watching this, look at the white papers, and they have white papers for multiple different things. And what we are going to look at here in bits is the OG. First, we're going to look at the OG white paper. It's classified as Alpha 1, one of the best Street Fighters. Back in 2018, signed by Eric Harris Braun, Nicholas Luck, which sounds like a hacker's name or a spell from Harry Potter, to be honest, and Arthur Brock, who is obviously a gym leader from Pokemon. I'm going to quickly read their abstract, then I'm going to point certain things out here. We present a scalable, agent-centric distribution computing platform. By the way, every time I hear agent, I think of the agents from the Matrix. So again, just poor choice of words. Uh, I know what they're talking about too, because it's like user agents and things like that. But that's still just, if you're trying to talk to even like business savvy or tech savvy public, just don't use words like that. We use a formalism to characterize distributed systems, show how it applies to some existing distributed um, systems, and demonstrate the benefits of shifting from a data-centric to an agent-centric model. We present in a detailed form specification of the Holochain system, along with an analysis of its system integrity, capability for evolution, total system computational complexity, implications for use cases, and current implication statuses. We're not going to go over this whole thing. Just to know a couple things. One, this is some of the most math-centric white paper I've ever seen. Literally, they break every single thing into like a crazy high math level formula. Like the entire white paper is like this. There's actually very few there's like it's punctuated with some conceptual stuff, but then it's immediately followed by like these really like crazy probability social engineering math functions. It's pretty nuts. And of course, like I know math, I don't know this level of math. Yeah, password management in Rust. Whatever programming language you can use to make it work, you can make it work. It's just I have my own preferences. It's like an opinion. I have an asshole, and I'm an asshole, and I have 8 million of them. So I just make fun of Rust, honestly, just because I constantly bang my head against the wall. So usually when a application fails, it's always because of the Rust component of it for some reason. But that also could just be my shitty luck, or lack of luck, I should say. So let's look at some here. So we can confirm a couple of things here. So first of all, it is decentralized, and they're using what is kind of now. This is kind of funny because what they're describing, what they're doing with the blockchain is basically doing a cloud system. And it's funny because there should be a giant blinking. I think there should be a thing. You know how like with music, if there's music with like bad content in it, they have those giant parent advisory labels. I think anytime a tech thing anywhere says the word cloud, they have to be forced to put up a giant red and black notification that says cloud is another person's computer. I do appreciate the scribe. They're like extra computing space. They give the hint of the idea that the cloud is essentially everyone's partition part of the hard drive that they're not using currently. And leftover RAM and CPU processes. But I wish they would just flat out say that instead of misleading that they've done sort of something mystical, or it's basically a blockchain that's interfacing with the cloud network. But let's see here. Let's see what to say about Bitcoin and blockchain in general. The problem is understood to be that figuring out how to choose one block of transition and transactions among the many variants being experienced by the mining nodes as they collect transactions from the clients in different order and committing that single variant to the single globally shared chain. We call this approach a data centric approach because it's a focus on creating a single shared data reality amongst all the nodes. So their whole thing is they that they're trying to separate this from what they say with comparing this to Git. Like they want to be more like Git than they want to be Bitcoin, even though they're using a blockchain system for validation reasons. Um, because they believe that Git, because since it's independent on people's computers, but everyone has the same function, they call that in what they call an agent-centric approach. Um, SCJ wrote, I wrote a C program to allocate memory and hold it in controlled chunks recently. Question, SCJ, because I'm still trying to figure this out. Did you or anyone else? We participated. I got to do one or two challenges in the there was an amazing CTF that started yesterday. Yeah, it's still Saturday, so I can say yesterday, called decomposition. Not composition, decompetition, which it was a CTF where it's all about reverse engineering all the binaries, all the categories. So it's not Jeopardy. They just give you a ton of binary blobs, and then you had to reverse engineer them. And I think the languages they listed is C, C++, Go, Rust, and Swift. I don't know why people are doing stuff in Swift, but and then the flags were hidden in the reverse engineered code. I think you should have participated in that. I don't know if you heard about that, but it was really awesome, and I can't wait to do it that contest again next year. Yeah, SAS does suck a lot. Um, let's look more at the white paper here. So we could definitely confirm that they're using what they call an agent-centric system, which means it focuses more on the end user than any like actions that are on the network. The users control the network that they're on. Generalized distribution computation. We have confirmation here that this is definitely based on Ethereum. This is not directly Ethereum, but that they are using Ethereum as a basis to create Holochain to the point where they're actually using an ERC20 token for the Holochain token itself. So that's just some of the things that we can glean off of this very, it's not even technical, this very math oriented, like a Chinese algebra level shit in this white paper, which I commend them that they're geeks enough that they just went completely full ham on this. Being a weird pain here. So that's enough of that white paper. The other white paper, which I actually haven't read yet, I just want to browse through, is the green paper. Now, this kind of confused me because originally I thought maybe this was Hollow kind of talking about how energy efficient their blockchain is. But from what I understand, this is more of like the business end of like how they see the network working. Bring crypto to the mainstream. It's already mainstream. The problem is that's full of bros. Um, Overview of the Hollow ecosystem, double entry crypto accounting, crypto coins, crypto accounting. So this is very much the business end of like how people on Hollow are going to or Holo are going to actually make money off of this. The Hollow is a bridge to link our advanced crypto technology, Holochain, and everyday users. Immediate and efficient processing, no proof of work, no proof of stake, no energy wasted on mining, no bottlenecks and no global delays. They're calling this integrity without consensus, which sounds like a weird Bible phrase. I kind of don't know what that means, but I actually think they probably made those words up. But let's see here. Programmers can leverage our RAD tools, which we're going to look into. Those are rapid application development tools to quickly build peer-to-peer web applications. And we're actually going to try to run some of these too, but that's going to be another video. That you wish you knew about the CTF. Yeah, no, we found this out like 2 weeks ago, and then I had to scramble to put together an announcement, I think, on Thursday night. Again, if you follow our Twitter at DEFCON201 NJ or Instagram, get DEFCON201, even if we post stuff at the last minute like this episode, you will get notifications for things. Also, our blog. You go to our website, you click on news. That's DEFCON201.medium.com, I think it is. we always update our blog, our Twitter, and our Instagram, and usually our Mastodon concurrently with it. Although sometimes there's an hour delay when we do cool things like the practice CTFs. And there's going to be more CTFs, like more normal air quote CTFs in the future. One of my dreams is to do an attack CTF. And my overall dream is that this fall we want to build our own CTF to train people on how to do capture the flags. That's always been that was a goal that GI Jack and I conceptualized basically when we started this group, that was going to be like one of our big first spin-off main things, and it's been 5 years, but I think we can actually try to do it now. The Holochain meets the demands. People want to own their own data, control their identity, have automatic backups, customize their user experience, choose how to connect their web applications, decide whom to share their private information and transact with, dependencies of banks or government. You can do all of these without blockchain. The thing is kind of they're trying to make it sound like, oh, you don't have to think about it. But again, if this becomes popular enough, hackers are going to hammer the system so much that you're still going to have to think about it. All these owning your data, controlling identity, those are all government policy things, as well as like social, like hygiene things. These, you can build this type of stuff in your network, but this is more of, it's kind of like you can build a car with airbags and seatbelts and like, cameras that with like more automated stuff in the computer of the car so that it doesn't bump into things. But if someone's going to drive like an asshole, they're going to crash into things. Like just having the preventive stuff, the user's in charge of the thing. Like that's more of, the reason why, they triple parked and ran over 5 kids has nothing to do with that the car didn't have seatbelts. It's that the driver's an asshole. And that's more of on their end. That's where you have to be like a responsible person. And like, so that's why, like, when we do privacy and security stuff, well, we recommend tools and stuff to use. It's more of like education on here's your what's that called, your what attack surface, your threat model. Here's your threat model. Here's good ideas of how you can circumvent that threat model so they're not threats, and then here are some simple tools that you can use to attempt to do that stuff. But it's more of training people on like how to threat model, how to see things, how to research ways to like overcome the obstacles, rather than just, oh, you just download these 5 tools and then you never have to think. Because once you have people to stop thinking, that's where the real hacks and problems and ransomware and trouble and criminals begin. Yeah, Twitter notifications, we get them too. They're a pain in the ass. But if you do follow our Twitter, especially if you go to our Twitter, I always recommend going to our Twitter like every 2 to 4 days. If something's coming up, like our meeting, because I'm going to do this on Monday, or like an upcoming live stream or a CTF or a gathering, we will pin that on our social media. So you go to Mastodon, you go to Twitter, you go to our blog and stuff. Especially if it's not on the website, we will actually pin that. So it's the first thing you see when you load in, so it doesn't get mixed up with all the other stuff we retweet and toot and things. We're going to get into HoloPort. It says early adopters could use HoloPort to host their own apps and data and earn HoloFuel for sharing extra space. I want to learn the difference between HoloFuel and I think HoloFuel is like the market for this, while HOT is the actual cryptocurrency token. So as you can see here, I'm going to zoom in a bit more. We're going to get into some codes. Just give us a minute or 3. This is their crazy way of the ecosystem. So let's see here. So you have Holochain currently running through this, and you have Holo as a base. And let's see. So you have infrastructure, provider, DNS resolution, and host. That's already sounds, it's always DNS. See, again, even though this is a decentralized network, it's still going through the internet. Like, in order to sell this up, I have to be connected to the centralized internet. This is not like, North Korea has outward portals from their intranet to the internet, but this is not like a truly separate network, which they're trying to do. But it's not a truly separate network that you can connect that's completely separate from the internet. This is still connected to the internet. It's just like Tor or GNU-net or I2P or any of that. You're doing safer and oblique routing through the centralized internet. You're not like running concurrent through the internet. That's not happening. So you have hosts that go to end user participants with host information for the app with selective automation. With find and request apps, they have application providers, which are also being fed by developers. And then this goes back and forth between the application providers and the host, and the developers do the developed meta apps directly back to the host. So it's this weird kind of like you have like one half circle here, and then this, and then developers are like split roasting between these two things. It's crazy. This is such a marketing line right here. Holo is where the crowd becomes the cloud. Doesn't that sound like either the rapture or mass suicide? I'm sorry, that just rubs me. I'm glad this is buried in a white paper and that's not like right on their website because that just sounds wrong. You know, it's like it's like try our sleeping pill. It's like a shotgun to the face. Like never don't they really need to choose different words. That's already the theme I'm noticing with Holo is they just have like really poor choice of words that their project's working, so I guess maybe I'm the odd one out, but it's just turning me off and not even in that way. Let's see here. Credits. Hosts are paid in Holo's crypto credits called crypto credits. Doesn't that sound like a Star Wars term? Speaking of Star Wars term, called Holo Fuel, which are efficiently designed designed to transact a high volume of microtransactions. Again, all I keep thinking about is video game microtransactions, poor use of words. Um, the value of hosting credits stay stabilized because they are backed by a valuable modern asset in computing power. As more hosts come online and share computing power, the network becomes more valuable, giving the credits more purchasing power in relation to services that are designed to support. I think that's fine, but again, you can also just do this with fiat money in a centralized system. So it's just, I guess, in a decentralized system, this is what you'd have to do, but whatever. This also doesn't see the other problem too is that I don't know if there's third-party wallets for Hot and Hollow Fuel, or if there is like they have their own wallet because they that video, even though it's an older video, said that they're not on iOS and Android yet. But that I think that was more of a platform thing. But as we far know, like there was a big bust recently where a ton of people lost Monero, which confused everyone because it's like Monero is super it's like decentralized and it runs the dark net and it goes through all this like it's super secure and hackers use it like how and it's like they attacked the exchange, they hacked the exchange which had the wallet addresses, so you know even if this is a completely decentralized network, you're still going to have to do like the end users are still going to have to learn how to do hygiene on how to hold their hollow fuel at risk of losing it in either a decentralized or centralized system, of this, phishing attempts through emails and things like that. So like they really need to put their communication out there. Holofuel functions by enabling a long-proven standard practice of double-entry accounting, with layers of cryptographic assurance on top of it. Both parties in a transaction sign the transaction to each other's account change. That'd be interesting to see if you can forge signatures. And these transactions are validated by peers on shared DHT. So it sounds like you have to do a 51% forging signature and then ransomware. It's they're adding more difficult layers, but I've seen people do more things with less time because the target's that big and they're that desperate. So, but yeah, it seems like look at this chart. Oh Lord, fair BNB. See, here's another thing with these words. I hate that people are using BNB because I've friends who are good that run BNBs, but they tell me the horror stories of not only people who rent BNBs, but other people who like turn their houses and stuff into BNBs, and like people who've gotten like assaulted at these places or they got gypped up. I actually had friends who recently got married and they were supposed to stay at a B&B, and the old woman who was running the B&B either didn't get the memo from her husband or was crazy, and when they tried to drive up, like they weren't even driving on the property, they like drove right up to the driveway to the house, and they stopped there and they were trying to call her. Woman comes out with a fucking shotgun, like a classic Yosemite Sam, two-barreled fucking 12 gauge or 10 or like 10 gauge shotgun. Like holy shit, So the idea that they're like trying to use, it'd be kind of like if they were like where it'd be something like, Shodan is trying to do with public information what let me try to think of something. Like I don't know, like what the U.S. government was trying to do with Homeland Security. It's like, why would you say that? No one has a good opinion about what you just referenced, so now you've just tainted your thing. Well, let's kind of look here. So you have a bunch of users. There's data going in a loop, I guess. You have the decentralized network, you have publishers inside the different user accounts, and then there's reserve accounts, which is kind of interesting, and an infrastructure provider, which, again, if done poorly, the infrastructure provider could actually probably gain enough power that they essentially become a centralized source, like what's been happening with Bitcoin, where um, the Bitcoin mining nodes have gotten so big and there's so few people that run them that now essentially like 5 people run all of Bitcoin. They're like the Rockefellers of the entire cryptocurrency. And we're gonna have, it might be the next episode, but we're definitely gonna have an episode in the next month or 3 where I'm finally going to go over the granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin, and all the crazy different forks Bitcoin has had throughout its years. It's like it's honestly generated more kids than contestants on Jerry Springer shows. It's pretty crazy. Um, so let's see some tech innovation, scalable dApps, which they like to call HApps for some reason, or HAPS, I guess. What's happening? Pairing Holochain to blockchain, hash chain approach, data centric, single global data set with blockchain. There's age centric energy use. So since there's no mining on Holochain, so that's been unique. I've never seen a blockchain that claims that they don't do any mining on theirs, except for maybe Libra, but that was a centralized one, so that makes sense. Basically, your mining is like you working and putting fiat money in. Since no mining is required, no specialized processes are needed. But see, you're still running processes on other people's computers. So if people are using like giant video game rigs as background processes for HoloNet, that's still going to eat up a lot of power. Transaction, not nearly as enough as Bitcoin, but you're still eating up a bunch of power. Transaction bomb, they said for blockchain, and I guess they're basing this all on Bitcoin, uh, or part of it. Oh, Neo currently possesses over 1,000 transactions per second. Bitcoin and Ethereum considerably less than a handful per second. Holochain is expected to surpass financial exchange backbones like Visa Network, which has a max of 56,000 transactions per second. So they want to do very high transaction volume in very little time. And they want to do, using shared DHT, Holochain, they want to be extremely stable. They can run on a Raspberry Pi or a mobile phone, even though they said in that video they did, so maybe something's changed. Computational efficiency. I love this math. These are all math nerds. This is kind of funny. I wonder if some of these people participate in numeri, which we're gonna do a makeup episode for that in the future, probably in the summer. Uh, N times N O for validating transactions on blockchain. They're doing N divided by M times log M for O for validating transactions. I have no idea what that means, but I guess theirs is more efficient. And consensus effects for blockchain core consensus algorithms, centralized power, making the richer. Proof of work results in infinitely growing computation overhead for costs. They've claimed for Holochain there's no mining or staking, no consensus, even though there is a committee that talks about this, which would be a consensus technically. Not vulnerable to the majority of attacks. Um, Challenge accepted, I'll say, when your network gets more popular. Because that's what they also said about like Monero and a bunch of shit, and then they get hacked all the time. So, that's nothing against Monero Foundation. That's just the reality of, you know, everything is hackable, okay? I do like the phrasing majority of attacks, and they're not saying this is like hack proof, so I guess points for them on that. You only have to trust the code on your own node and can validate counterparty's history directly. Again, 51% attacks would be very interesting on this thing. Hosting peer-to-peer apps for mainstream users. So they're comparing Ethereum, Holo, and Amazon Web Service. Again, we're not going to go into this whole thing. I just wanted to see kind of what's in the green paper here, which they do have pieces about the environment, but it's actually more about like how they're going to set up the business. So the rest of the stuff we're gonna kind of break down all the aspects of Holo and Holochain, and then we're going to attempt to run some programs. So we're probably going to end this around midnight, depending on how everything goes. Is this updated? Okay, so cool. Just gonna scroll up and do some resizing here. And again, if you are interested in, if you like this content that you've seen so far, even though it's just me right now reading from white papers, we are gonna get to code in about like 8 to 10 minutes. And you want notifications for like when the next Master of Unlocking comes on, so you can learn how to pick locks. When's their next Crypto Barons, which is gonna be 2 weeks from now on Saturday, 8 p.m. Our next meeting, which will be on the 18th or the 19th, or if we do special live streams or cool video games or whatever, you can subscribe, like, and share us completely for free on Twitch, D Live, and YouTube. When you do that, like we saw earlier, I get notifications for those, and I cheer everyone on. And if you are particularly on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell and turn on all notifications, because YouTube is a poorly coded piece of shit. I would say I'd rather run the alpha of Holo than any of the engineering that YouTube has done. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just way better. So just letting everyone know there. Also, again, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, or my shirt, or what the fuck DCG 201 is, you can say all of that in chat. I love talking with chat. Otherwise, as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. So what's all the components about Holo here? Well, as I said, you have the Holochain, you have Holo Fuel, and you have Hot. So let's go to each one here. So this is Holochain. This is the website for it. They highlight here trust and security. Local circles of trust provide data integrity without centralized authorities and beyond blockchain. Holochain delivers the promises of blockchain with a mashup of proven tech that provides self-owned data, a distributed database, and pure accountability. This is like its cousin, is a very snazzy website, but let's go into more details here. Holochain is an open source framework for building fully distributed peer-to-peer applications. That's what they claim Holochain is. If we go to the website and look at it, they elaborate a little bit more. Holochain is an open source framework for creating peer-to-peer applications that are secure, relatable. Relatable. I could totally relate to this application because it's crashing. Reliable and fast. Instead of depending on servers, Holochain applications connect users' devices directly to each other in secure networks. Makes me nervous. This gives users the best of both worlds, the autonomy and availability of locally installed software with the power and redundancy of cloud software. Application developers, in turn, no longer have to maintain and pay for cloud hosting, but they still have to do a lot of resources for the back end of that application and make sure that it actually can communicate between all the devices. Main things about Holochain here is that it's agent-centric. Holochain takes an agent-centric approach, putting you at the center of your computer experience. This isn't just a pleasant-sounding philosophy. I like that they joke that in there. It's actually how it's built. Applications run on your device, creating a self-owned identities and data. Open programming interface is ensure you always have access, while concept behind permission control protects you from unauthorized use. I would attack that permission control if I was an attacker, and then combine that with 51% voting attacks in order to just completely try to drive this network crazy. Maybe that'll be a future thing. We could do that like as a challenge or something with the Holo Foundation's permissions. How would this protect P2? See, this is what I'm asking. Like, a lot of this is, and I like that they admit this, but this is on the user end. So I feel like if this properly fully launched, like even in beta, they'd have to like kind of teach users of like not to write like their passwords on the bathroom stall at work and school, because that's the type of stuff that's going to get this network in trouble. SCJ says, I recently found a bug that disclosed P2 for a major game developer that is actually going to fix it. Actually, less bug, more poor design decisions. Hey, I don't know if you have you said you have Twitter. DM us about that, because we're right now submitting to another convention similar to MagFest, and we could totally, if it's interesting research, that you DM us with your permission. Anything that's not like classified or under NDA, we could totally feature at our thing. So DM us about that. I'm personally just interested in myself, because that's a cool thing there that you just did. So I wanna look into that. That sounds cool. More thing about Holochain: encrypted peer-to-peer network. So they definitely do encryption. I don't know what type of encryption though. And mutual accountability is the same thing in the videos. That's kind of what they've done there. What they do, they work. So you run your own. This is how they do the agency part. You run your own copy of the app. You identify and data live on your machine. Nothing happens without your consent. To be honest, that's pretty much how most cryptocurrency wallets work. As we covered in the first episode, you don't actually have coins. You have a digital ledger that can look at and an application, which is the wallet that looks at the blockchain. So that's literally what your wallet is a copy of the ledger, which is a snapshot of the blockchain, and the ability to read that blockchain. So that's what you're downloading when you're doing a wallet. It's not a literal wallet where like you open the wallet and there's like physical cash in there. Imagine if you open your wallet and it just had a piece of paper that constantly changed numbers to let you know what your account balance is on your credit card. That's literally what a crypto wallet is, and so that's kind of the same way that they are. So I don't think that's a fully unique feature. Maybe they're just implementing it more extreme, but that's what that sounds like to me. See, at the core of the app is a collection of rules that define what value data looks like. Again, that's a smart contract, between the different wallets, so that's not really unique. And mutual sovereignty, because every user of the app has the same powers and responsibilities. They balance and maintain between freedom and accountability. Bald eagle flies overhead. We call this mutual sovereignty. It's what makes the app function secure, even though there's no server in the middle. Again, if you're going voting, 51% attack. That's the first thing I would try, along with the sort of like hash tables that they'd use. That there was a bad endpoint that gave a user's age. Oof. Yeah, and considering that, like, there's still a lot of kids that play video games, and there's a lot of parents who are gamers that are now getting their kids into games. That's going to be a thing, unfortunately, especially with so many video games now being like service based instead of like product based. God, I just got work back to when I used to work in video games. I just read that as DHC, which is a type of cannabis thing. DHT, I wonder what that stands for. So we have Bob and Alice and Bob and Frank this time. So app instance on Bob's device. We have that. That's, I guess, representing the blockchain. And then DT shared. And then vague network. Yeah, that's basically what they wrote. Bob installs core. Application 1 calls his DNA and the Holochain runtime. It's basically the blockchain itself. Application is source chain, signed by his private key. I just wish they would name the type of encryption here. Let's see. After the DNA fingerprint comes from optional membrane proof. There's a term I haven't heard before. For applications that restrict membership, this journal entry shows that Bob's is allowed to join the network. It can be an invite code, proof of dues, or a vouch signed by an existing member, whatever the application needs to protect itself. Now I know the different things to forge and target on these. Membrane proof comes Bob's agent ID, which apparently is number 5 here. So that's membrane proof DNA, membrane proof. Complement is his private key. It serves as both a unique identifier network and means verifying signatures, like you do. Bob tries to join the peer-to-peer network, so that's number 6. Publishes first 3 journal entries. Distributed hash table, that's what DHT stands for. Okay. Bob's Peer Network has also have a copy of the DNA. This is basically what we covered in our first episode of how blockchain works. I don't really see like anything interesting that's like unique to Holochain, except I guess they focus on this more because, to be honest, it's kind of comical of how centralized most cryptocurrencies are, even though they try to advertise as something else. As I wrote before, Holochain is very much Web3 here. And there's a crazy Elon Musk talking about Web3 and how like doing Holochain is gonna fix this. So apparently the issues from the previous 2 Web 1 and Web 2.0, besides the banner marquee tag, is and Jekyll is setup costs, technical burden, security issues. I'm surprised security issues is not number 1 or number 2, especially number 2, because when it's bad, you go number 2 a lot, especially when security has the runs. With fragility, which really should be part of security issues, and isolation. Actually, fragility probably should be called infrastructure. The way they say Holochain fits this is setup costs. In a Holochain app, people connect securely, privately, or directly to each other's computers, either via a public IP address or through a relay service. Interesting. Using traversal using relays around NAT. Holochain creates an overlay on top of an underlying network, making fixed IP addresses and the names unimportant. Again, you're running a decentralized network through a centralized network, aka the internet. So with tech burden, you don't need to care or know that you're running a personal server. It's just background process, like most blockchains are. Security issues. Holochain has a strictly defined network protocol that validates every interaction with your peers. It also sandboxes the backend of every application. That's interesting. So it VMs allegedly all the backend of every decentralized app that's on their network, preventing it from getting direct access to your file systems and network. Interesting. It'd be interesting to test that, see if you can actually make it jump. For fragility, you're responsible for the original copy of your data along with a small slice of every else's data. That's basically how blockchains work. And isolation, Holochain is intended to deliver apps with the decentralization of Web 1 and the connectedness of Web 2. Each application has its own shared database that each participant. Wouldn't that be a centralized thing if it was a shared database that every participant can read from and write to? In other words, you and your peers are each other's Web 2, not an organization that sees you as a product, which means that basically you, instead of complaining to Elon Musk, you're your own Elon Musk, but so is everyone else, and that sounds like the worst game of Monopoly, both the board game and literally ever. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for a mobile game, of course. Yeah, the mobile game thing is like, it's still like the Wild Wild West out there, and like, oof. It's like the mobile game world is what people were worried that if Linux gaming took off, what Linux gaming would turn into. So that was that weird fluff piece of trying to explain how Holochain matches with Web3. And then I found this other article that kind of talks a bit more about like peer-to-peer and like how it's really in there. I'm not going to read it all. I just want to let you know that like, Holochain has a couple of 100,000 people following it, so it's kind of it's kind of what we like to call a big deal. But Holochain's not the only thing on the Holo network. We also have Holo Fuel, which is Holo's acid-based cryptocurrency. And my thing is it like, does the cryptocurrency burn you, or is it like a stamp you put on your tongue where you're like, I get Elon Musk stupid tweets now because I'm on acid. I don't know which one, but Holo's asset, there's a T at the end, backed cryptocurrency. Holo is powered by Holo Fuel, cryptocurrency backed by digital assets, the processing, computation, and storage needed for efficient cloud hosting. New breed of cryptocurrency. Holo Fuel is a whole new breed of cryptocurrency. Unlike its predecessors, it is not a crypto token or a crypto coin, but a mutually credited account system where every transaction is countersigned on the local chains of both counterparties. I wonder why it's not called counter. This design allows crypto credits to forge new patterns of social and market behaviors that have not been seen previously. Guess that's in which white paper is this? Currency paper, so I guess we'll load this in the meantime. What is Holo Fuel? Holo Fuel is the internal microcurrency that powers a Holo hosting network. I think this is what they talked about with the microtransaction stuff. Holo Fuel's primary use is for the app publishers to pay Holo host for their services. So instead of paying fiat money, which is centralized and can be traceable, they're using the Holo Fuel instead. And Holo Fuel is a mutual credit cryptocurrency capable of billions of daily microtransactions. So the idea is they're doing funny thing about currency. Back in the day, so this is where you get to learn like how terms exist. So before you had like mass machines stamping out flat sheets of metal, making all of our coins, you would actually have to go to a goldsmith or a silversmith or a coppersmith or something to make this. And so what they would have is they would have a chisel as a backup tool, but they'd have a stamp that's from the government with the official pattern, and you would have to take the square piece of metal and you would put it on a raised surface, put the stamp on and a hammer, and you would hit it, and then they would punch out the coin. Then you would have to do modifications for it with the chisel and the file. And this is actually where we get the term of making money hand over fist, and you're stamping out the money. Now, one of the reasons why we have like the U.S. Mint now, and other countries have their own mints for their own currencies, is that these third-party money contractors that would make coins. Obviously, when you make coins, you're not using the whole sheet of metal. You're stamping pieces out. And particularly back when a lot of coins were made out of or had a mix of gold and silver in them. And even then, copper is still worth a bunch if you get enough of it. Same thing with nickel. what they would do is they would punch the coins out, and especially since usually coins were weighted, they would either take excess off the coin or keep the stamped out excess so that the coin remains the same weight, but they've taken literally pieces of the coin off that are not needed, and they save those. And it's like saving pennies over time. You build a whole pile of gold or silver, and you basically are making money on the side. You're literally making money by making money by making money. And, the governments were like, no. So they centralized everything. And that seems to be how they're kind of doing Hollow, is that all the extra space that you're not using, that the hollow blockchain and network functions are using with your different decentralized apps or dApps, or what they call them, apps, I guess. Um, that the hollow fuel is kind of the chipping off of the side, so it's all the little pieces of data that you don't use that runs the Holochain, and then like that's the hollow fuel for you, and that's how you're making money. Hence why they're saying microtransactions. Um, so that's kind of what hollow fuel apparently is. Let's look at the white paper real quick. And I swear to God, in the next like 8 to 10 minutes, we're gonna actually we're gonna attempt to do code. We're gonna look at code and attempt to do code. So there's a whole white paper. There's actually, I'm disappointed with the lack of math in here. Although here's jumped at me. No tokens, no coins. Blockchain-based currencies or token-based crypto coin is actually a cryptographic token with an associated unit value and a private key, which is then used to spend that coin. That's basically true. A blockchain ledger provides the definitive list of all coins by recording the creation of each coin and following the transaction. In blockchain, each transaction actually destroys prior coins when they are spent and creates new coins. Again, it's like a physical currency, but instead of exchanging, it's kind of like cloning and killing. Hence why you burn coins. And when you burn coins, you could actually use that leftover block data and put other shit in it. And that's, a cool hack that led to sort of using blockchains as decentralized storage networks, kind of like Namecoin and stuff in the first place. We covered this on previous episodes. The recipient of the transaction controls the private key of the coin paid to them, while the sender maintains controls of the keys for any coin as creates a change. This is stuff we covered in our first episode. Blockchain ledgers are required consensus strategies because everyone must agree upon what coins exist and what coins have been destroyed. When no coin exists, no consensus is required. Instead of a token central ontology that requires computational overhead invested by established consensus, Hollow, and I guess Hot, uses an agent-centric, again, the agent thing. Basically, this provider provides an upgraded traditional double-entry accounting by using cryptographic signatures committed to immutable chains as accounts. In this double-entry account method, instead of managing a global ledger of coins, each agent or user account manages its own local chain of transactions. Which basically that means each person has their own micro ledger, and then they sort of like Voltron themselves together into the full ledger. Let's see, Spice and Wolf talks about how money speculation was a thing and purity of the coin. Sure, go do code. We're about to do code in a moment. Coding is fun as it's frustrating if you want to see when it's both. Definitely check out N Commander's live streams whenever he does one again. Those are always hilarious to watch. We also follow a ton of amazing coders on Twitch. Not so much DLive, sadly, but on both YouTube and Twitch. And so sometimes you'll catch us rehosting some people doing code. We might even raid someone who's doing code tonight. We'll see who's on at midnight. Let's see. Countersigned transactions. Hollow designs all transactions recorded as double entry. Accounting records of the source of change and each agent participating in the transaction. As a general use example, not specifically pay for hosting, Alice agrees to sell a bike to Bob for some hollow crowds. We have Alice and Bob again, our two favorite characters. They communicate with each other via node to node, blah, 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 in a two-phase process. So we have all these ID fields, and then they kind of look at their own ledgers. So they have their own micro copies. This hollow chain definitely feels like it's like the containerization of blockchain in a decentralized way. That's how I would describe it. So we have a little diagram here. It's, again, complicated. Users, data, infrastructure, and, the reserve accounts are the swapping of the coins. That's interesting. So they said, we expect the largest variations of supply to happen through reserve accounts. The supply of the credit expands when a reserve account, such as a Holo organization, sells hosting credits for a correlation outside crypto or a national currency. Reserve accounts have a special algorithm for expanding their credit limit by committing to a proof of reserve records to their chain to demonstrate receipt or payments of the accounts correlating to outside currency for the HoloLens credits. Did I just say HoloLens, like Microsoft HoloLens? Dear Lord. This is what happens when, like, an industry is really obsessed. It's like the way Meta is now, where, like, everything is Meta, so I'm gonna constantly think of fucking Zuckerberg's stupid lizard face and, like, the metaverse instead of, like, meta tags and meta pods and meta knights and shit like that. Meta knights and meta knights, by the way. You'll hear a tone difference with that. And it's the same thing with the word holo. Like, there's so many companies that use the word holo or hologram in their technology. It's annoying. So I'm going to make mistakes like that. Let's see here. The outside funds are then held in reserve for network hosts who received. So they're basically kind of like robot users. So in order to keep the decentralizations up, these are basically their own accounts. They hold their own micro ledgers, but they're done in an automatic process with essentially, I guess, a bot or a smart contract instead of okay, you want. What's going on? Now, fortunately, I didn't rip these videos. I probably should have, but we are going to take a look at the videos. What about Sam? I guess Sam just fucked off. I think Sam is like, Sam right now is probably trying to get his hacked wallet keys back. It's a Git flavored blockchain. Yeah, no, they actually, when we covered the white paper, they actually cited that they wanted to be more like Git than they want to be like Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff, even though, again, they're based off of Ethereum. But that's just Holo Fuel. That's the actual like currency system for like the transactions. The other element to this, if I can find it, is where did I put this? Is Hot, which it's the actual Holochain token of itself. So this is the actual ERC Ethereum 20 base token. Let's see, a bunch of meaningless data there. Let's kind of break this down. Let's go to, and we'll refresh a coin market cap. Right now, Holo, I think, spiked when the network came out, but with like a lot of coins, it hasn't been doing so well. It's been like slowly dipping this entire time. We are men in tights. So yeah, there has been a dip down from both, even compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So as you can see, I guess they started off and there was like, some spikes here, and then it's been the red, and then about early February, it just skyrocketed because I remember people making tons of videos. This is how I found out about Holochain, was through I found out Holochain through FOSDEM, but I heard about Holochain in general first because everyone was talking about it. And then there was a slight dip, then a spike a couple of days ago, and now it's just back down to red again. So that seems to be what's going on with it, is that like spikes every time there's a coverage, it gets like healthy, and then it just dies immediately after. It's literally worth 0.0048 cents compared to the United States dollar. As I see here, Holo's a peer-to-peer. The Holo network will facilitate using a token called HoloFuel, which is being actively tested and will act as an account system pays host for the services. In 2018, the project minted an ERC20 token, HOT, also known as Holo token, as an IOU that will be redeemable from. Okay, so that's how this works. So basically, HOT, the current tokens, that's probably why there's so much in the red. This reminds me of like the television Amico and that bullshit. These are actually IOUs, and then you'll be able to trade the HOT tokens that you currently have for Holo Fuel itself, and then Holo Fuel will take over when it does all the spacing and stuff, because all this stuff is basically in like pre-alpha. So that makes it sucks, but that does make more sense here. Let me just see stuff about the testing phase, because I am very interested if there's like a test net. Although we are going to be doing the Holochains exactly itself. And there is dev camp. Next, I'll put it this way. If there's a dev camp in the future and I find out, I'll do a Crypto Baron special of just the Holochain dev camp, because those seem neat. Everything is run by the Holochain Foundation. As I always say, usually if there is a blockchain or cryptocurrency network, there is always a foundation that runs it or like oversees it, whether it's developers or a mix of developers and policymakers. Holochain's mission is to support and embody social coherence through the computing frameworks that enable collective intelligence and collaboration among peers. Initially, it's being accomplished through an innovative peer-to-peer architecture called Holochain and the unique open source model, the cryptographic autonomy license, which we're going to get to in a moment, holds the right of end users and additions of developer stakeholders. The Holochain Foundation is further nurturing a global community of individuals and projects to create an ecosystem for partners and peers who work exemplifies the Commands Foundation. There's always a word with a foundation that they can become a centralized source, but what it really sounds like what they're doing is kind of what FSF should be doing and is trying to do right now, which is like highlighting what other people are working on instead of kind of dictating of what the network should be and do. What made you interested in this project? So again, I heard about the Holofuel and stuff from like crypto bros making YouTube videos about it. But what renewed my interest, and I said this in the intro, but I can go back to it. And actually, let me skip ahead and show you. Was I did a live stream that I was falling asleep most of the time, not because it was boring, but it was because it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, called FOSDEM, which is kind of like, in my opinion, it's like for those of you who don't know, it's like Planet Libre from the Free Software Foundation, except it has actual interesting, modern, relevant shit, and is actually well done and is good and stable. And they had a Web3 section, which was controversial this year, and I kept seeing Holochain brought up over and over again. So I was like, what is this? And then when I looked into it, I saw that there was just so much going on with the ecosystem and so much like coding and network stuff that I'm like, okay, now I have to like actively look at this because this is kind of cool. Here are all the people at the current Holochain Foundation, including my favorite nondescript. These are all GitHub logos. So we have the nondescript Glider GitHub logo for someone who haven't updated their username. And what this is kind of backed on is that there's a actual patent in the U.S. government, apparently, for the DHT networking innovations that we saw in the white paper for Holochain. And to back that up, all of this is based after something from the Open Source Initiative, which is the Cryptographic Autonomy License version 1.0 or the CAL-1.0. Whereas this license applies to any work whose owner has marketed it with any of the following or similar demonstrations of intent. The SPDX license or the license of cryptographic. Basically, what this license does is it puts all the stuff or most of the stuff in the actual user's hands of the service or product instead of a centralized authority. So even if a centralized authority sets this up, ultimately, the initiative, health, and maintenance of said infrastructure will be done by the users and their clients. That's what that means. I guess it's a funding mechanism for them. I haven't seen, I guess it's for fundraising. Again, I'm not sure. It seems like maybe what's happening is a combination of fundraising and that it also might be that the testnet currently spits out hot tokens because it's easier to do Ethereum 20. And then when this network like finally gets into beta, it will then switch over to Holofuel and they'll make a website or a service like either command on their Nix network or like when they actually release the wallet for this, because I haven't seen like wallets for this yet. That you'll be able to then convert it over to whatever I almost said gamer fuel. Holofuel is. Let me look at some other quick things here. So, before we move on, there's an interesting thing you can do with Holofuel, and that interesting thing is what's called a holoport. They're expensive as shit. But what a holoport is, you can see it above. It looks like a projector that doesn't project anything, but essentially it is a plug and play server rack. I think it's basically like a really super up advanced Raspberry Pi that instead of using whatever limited resources you have left on the computer for Holochain, this has its own resources and will run Holochain for you, and you get to contribute back. And this, because it has so much resources, it easily generates Holofuel and supposedly hot tokens before Holofuel, and thus you'll be able to like literally mint money. So this is their version of like the Bitcoin server rack, which again while it does use, I guess, less energy than Bitcoin, again, if people are if this takes off and let's say this replaces one of the big five or is it added to something, I'm sorry, the big seven, or this is like added to the big seven in terms of importance, along with Dogecoin and Monero and Ethereum and stuff, you might get enough people that have these racks that while it's not as bad as like Bitcoin or Ethereum, that they're still going to eat a lot of energy and resources that could be used like, somewhere else for the betterment of humanity and the environment. And there's two different types of hollow ports. For rackables, you have hollow port and you have hollow port plus. Both of them use a 3.5 or 3.6. So the normal one uses an Intel dual core Pentium processor, dun, 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 while the plus one uses an Intel quad core i7 processor. So essentially, it's a gaming PC. The younger one has a 1 terabyte hard drive. The Plus version has a 120 gigabyte SSD with a 2 terabyte hard drive, so you both have solid state and the spinny disk. The normal hollow port has 8 gigabytes of DD4 RAM. The hollow port Plus has 16 gigs of DD4 RAM, and then they have the same amount of connectors, which is an Ethernet port, two 3.0 USBs and two normal 2.0 USBs, an HDMI out, and an audio in and an audio out. Be interesting to kind of convert these into like a gaming PC, and you can see this idiot has their I almost said hollow deck, their hollow port, just on like a rack of books and stuff like that. So that's like the big physical product. Again, this reminds me a lot of Skycoin, which will be a future episode. I'll be honest right now. The reason why we haven't done that episode yet is that I need to talk with the people who run Skycoin, because normally they have a bunch of like, not only do I want them to show the server hardware that I can't afford to get, but I was going to buy these like lower end hardware, but right now it's out of stock at their online stores. So I need to know either A, when those are available, or B, do they have one lying around that's not for sale yet that they can send me for me to build and program on air to do the episode. So that's why I haven't done it yet, but I definitely want to do Skycoin, and when we get to that, I'll bring up the hollow fuel and the hollow ports. I keep trying to say keep trying to call it hollow pods or hollow blocks, and I can't remember hollow ports for the life of me, because it's not really a port. It's a miner. It's a hollow server. It's a hollow network server. That's what it is. It's a mini rackable server. And I will bring up the hollow ports and then compare and contrast them with the stuff that Skycoin does. So just want to kind of put that out there. And there's a whole terms and conditions order to run the alpha test stuff. So now that we have those out of the way, let's look at kind of the stuff you can do here. So this is the Holochain GitHub portal. I'm going to put a link of it in the chat. And by the way, if anyone has any questions about what I've just talked about or what I'm about to do, because stand back, I'm about to use science. You can always ask me in chat. I love when people ask me questions in chat, as long as it's not like super lame trolls. But if you're here to lurk and learn, as I always keep saying, keep lurking and keep learning. As you also have like, any questions, and if you like this content, by the way, you can subscribe and follow for us for free on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. Also, hi all the people who are stuck out there on Facebook, and we're getting back to you, PeerTube, and also the elite people who are watching this through Tor, who are definitely lurking and learning from this, and probably doing other things, and other things, and other things, because dark web. But I kid, kind of. If you do follow us while we stream, we can get notifications. You don't have to follow us and subscribe to us while we stream, but it's just kind of fun to do, because I get to cheer everyone on, stuff like I did in the beginning. And when you do that, you get notifications that we're going to go on. Although if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell and turn all notifications on, because YouTube is a fucking idiot. So we're just going to look over the general gist of this, and then we're going to go into more detail. I'm going to show some videos of projects that people have already made on Holochain while we set up our own Holochain on a Linux subsystem. And we're probably going to do that to 12:30. Around that time at 12:30, I will send out lemons. But we're going to look at this first. We're going to take a short break so I can rehydrate, and then try to do some code and pray to the demo gods. So they have a lot of repositories for different things, but the main thing we're going to focus on is the Holochain itself. We're going to go through all of this. I already preloaded and installed Nix shell just in case, because doing this in Rust will truly take for fucking forever. And I also don't trust the cargo.bin. That's always screwed up things in the past. So I mean, worst comes to worst, we will try the Rust method, but we're going to try the Nix method first. But let's kind of look at everything here. So let's see. Definitely uses Nix. There's a Docker that's built into it. That's interesting. Oh, that makes sense because the whole backend is containerized, so it's probably using Docker to build the backend container system. Oh, do you mean our content or do you mean Holochain's content? Thank you. If you like our content, again, I very much appreciate that. I try. Everyone that's still working here is trying. So thank you for that. I very much appreciate it. I guess that's why we keep seeing you all the time on here. So thank you very much, SAJ 643. Getting a little tired again. I'm definitely going to play Pokemon Legends Arceus and take a nap after this. Way past my bedtime. And probably get a snack because I already ate dinner. But, like, I'm kind of hungry again. So probably going to run out and brave the now cold. And I actually have to go out anyhow because there's supposed to be a snowstorm starting at, like, 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm probably going to work in the aftermath of that snow. But I'm so happy I'm not working in the snow because I work outside for my blue-collar day job. So I have to go out anyhow to get a snack because I have to grab the salt and throw it on the... I have to grab, like, salt from, like, Smash Brother players that lost and, like, Elon Musk when people don't follow his social media. I have to grab all that salt and throw it out on the sidewalk anyhow. So if I'm out there, I might as well get a snack, come back, wash my hands, and eat and play some Pokemon and then go to bed, among other things that I can't say on air. So they're definitely using Docker for the backend. Let's see. Crates. What's that? They just updated that today. Oh, this is the whole sandboxing system, and this is like all their backends. So P2P, there's SQLite. Actually, I forgot to look about how this breaks. It's okay. So it's 99.3% Rust and 7% other. I'm pretty sure that other is like Docker and shit like that. But this is almost all Rust programming. With NAT topology. Ooh, that's yeah, ow, yeah, damn it, fuck me. Containerized setup. We're gonna go. So we are actually going to go build this, but first I'm gonna put the music back on. We're gonna take a short break. I am going to do my last or second to last hydration refilling because you know hydration squad. So we're going to play some music for about like 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And then we're going to look at some videos and code of projects that have already been made by this. And while we do that, I'm going to try to actually install Holochain in some of these programs and see if we can get them running. All right, so enjoy the music. We will be right back after these non-sponsored messages that don't exist. See you in a bit. Going to refuel now.
Take me away from home. Show me all the places I've never known.
This one's boring.
It will change.
Better.
I'm not gonna feel anything I want to. Give it to me real. I'm not gonna chase. I'm not gonna feel anything I want to. Give it to me really make a run. I don't wanna have fun. Will you really make a run? I don't wanna have fun. I don't wanna have fun. chase, I'm not gonna.
And we are back. Told you it'd be a couple of minutes. I do completely agree, SCJ, that people who write documentation need more praise. In fact, documentation and lack of man pages is what really hurts, as well as like future forward thinking planning really hurts. Not just free and open source software, but just software in general. Whether you're closed source, open source, what that just ruins everything. There's people who always think that they're going to work on a project forever, that the project's easy enough to follow, that their own notes are easy to read, things like that. And that just never works. And that's the easiest way for a project that once the owners switch or it gets abandoned for it to stay abandoned and then to suffer code rot. And that's actually why I tell people that, and we're going to do this again this October, that when we do Hacktoberfest on GitHub and GitLab, that I'm like, if you don't feel comfortable like actually updating code, like you know how to read the code, but you're not just like that good of a hacker, but the project lacks documentation or clear documentation, contribute to the documentation instead, because I'm pretty sure that's more of what the programmer needs than like trying to clear up something on line 36 that the program works fine without it, but could just be a little simpler. Like I think that's more of a priority than that. So I completely agree that like documentation is like king here. So what we're gonna do now is let's kind of look. We're actually going to uh let's see um is we're going to do before we go into the binaries, we are going to look at a couple of one or two things that people that they've done with Holochain already. My notes are never existed. uh get working on that. So the first thing I think that we're going to look at is this there's I forget what they're called, but they're like this Australian like energy, they like do like energy maintenance, like electricity and like heat and water and stuff. So you monitor all that type of stuff and you can get rewarded for like saving on it, and they kind of pinpoint where you're wasting too much resources and how you can cut down without you compromising your like livelihood and stuff. It's except for your home network, yeah. You never shit your own bed, you just shit on everyone else's. That's the GitHub way. Um but they're doing that, and apparently they're using Holochain as their main backend. And so they have a video demo of them implementing Holochain into their energy management systems. And so I thought we would watch a video of that just to see what a decentralized app, or what they call them on there because they like to be special, a HAP or HApp looks on the Holochain network. So we're gonna watch and listen to this demo first. Here we go.
This is a thing we're calling solar. So what it is we're basically making people's households intelligent so that they can consume the energy when their household is producing the most solar. It's actually like a really simple thing, but what's cool is all the automation and intelligence that sits behind it so that, people can get a way better return without having to go all the way in on investing in a battery. And this is just a gentle adaptation of the tech that we've been building so far, which is really cool. And we've just basically been sending out some testing, some A/B testing and some ads to see if people are interested in different pricing packages. And we've been kind of like overwhelmed to see that this is something that the market really wants, which is basically a real world application of this intelligent agent-centric technology within the home. And so we've kind of been positioning it as this is a way to get an extra $150 or so a year out of your solar with just a couple small smart plugs, which you can see here. So this is literally what it looks like. This is our current MVP app next to the smart plugs that we've integrated with. And these are right now being rolled out and used by all of our users within the property development Mervac that we're working with. And what's really cool is that it's not just the MVP that's getting interest, and it's not just the solar booster proposition that's getting a bit of interest from the market, but it's resonating with both business to business and end users as well. And so what I've actually just done in the background while we've been on this call is if you head to our website and you're keen to get in on this before we go completely public with it, I've just added a little message field to say hello at the bottom of our newsletter field. Right in there, Solar Booster. And if you're keen to kind of jump on board before we go to the rest of the community, we'd love to have anyone that wants to join. And even if you don't have solar, it would just be really cool to get you involved in the MVP.
So that's an example of like one of the type of decentralized apps, or they're normally called dApps for short, but because Holochain wants to be its own special snowflake, they like to call themselves HApps or HAPS. It's the most hipster term I've ever heard. But that's like an example of something that's being built. One of them, which we're going to attempt to, well, after we try to get Holochain to load, we're going to try to get this program to load. And that is they're working on a decentralized chat system that it will be semi-built in. It'll be like the IRC of the Holochain network. And one of the things that they built into it, because I guess they got bored, was the ability to play a game on it, to play chess decentralized over this blockchain network, which, even though there's a lot of crypto games where you earn NFTs or cryptocurrencies, but they're not, the game itself is not run on either the blockchain itself, or it's not like the gameplay and the back end is not run on the same network that the chain's running on. This is different. This is actually this running on the HoloNet itself through one of their decentralized applications. So we're going to take a quick look at what I think they call it Element Chess that they made on their network through their chat program, that if we can get HoloNet to actually load in the subsystem of Linux, we'll attempt to actually also load the chat system as well.
You don't want to see the code. You want to see this. I'm just going to do the demo without explaining anything underneath, and then we can jump into it. So here are two agents, so two users basically using the app. So at first, they have to
Agent Smith and Agent Johnson.
Nickname, very basic profile information, just to be able to reference each other. And this is the main page for Elemental Chess, which is basically like the lobby in which you can start games. So, for example, Bob has registered, and I can search Bob, and then I can send him an invitation. And I want at this point to be able to see both agents. So send the invitation, and you can see it popped up in Alice as, okay, Alice sent an invitation to Bob, but reactively, instantaneously, it also popped into Bob's inbox, right? So then if Bob accepts, then they jump into the game.
Wow.
And then, well,
hey, Guillaume, I know you wanted to demo. Can I just ask you one quick question about what I just saw?
Yeah.
Because so in essence, is the invitation like an email app kind of thing? Like, is it its own application that you've brought in, that something that you were building elsewhere, or did you purpose build that for this Elemental Chess?
So both a little of both at the same time. So
okay.
We didn't have anything that provided that kind of functionality for us. So we basically created a separate module, which is invitations.
Yes. Okay.
With its own.
It's
its own zone, basically.
Which we're gonna talk later, because one of the key things that Guillen has moved towards on the team is modularity.
Yep.
So he will be able to explain that you can use that exact same module for something.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, it was, yes, I figured, and I'm sorry for interrupting. It was just the way the screen was laid out. I was thinking, ooh, are they 4 modules here? Okay, this is gonna get very cool very fast.
Could you imagine if this gets popular in the chess section on Twitch?
Now you are into the game, and well, you can see that there are no moves played yet. It's white turn, because in chess it white start, and well, very basic information. And now, well, you can start playing chess. So
Ooh, it
if you
moves in
spawn
real
with the
time too. Neat.
Sicilian here, I'm
Like the pieces
not
don't
not that
warp
much
to
of
the
a
squares; they
chess
actually
fan, but
move.
I
That's
know like
interesting.
2 openings that I can be cool with, you know, at conversations, and like
Not in real time, but it's
it's
really good.
chess, right? So you can see
Fancy.
it's not White's turn. So if I try to do anything, it doesn't allow me, and the other way around, right? So yeah, like this.
Oh, it says
It
it's
also
off the
shows you
stroke.
where you can go with each piece.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so now, for example, let's say that White is horrible and they want to resign. So they resign, basically, and now it updates automatically. You resign, Bob wins. Alice resign, you win. You can go back. And then you can see game history, right? So you have the game history of all the games that you played, very, very basic at this point, with just a summary of how many games you won, you lost, you draw. Just let me demo last thing, because this is it really. It's
Okay,
very,
after this,
very
we're gonna switch
elemental
over.
at this point, pun intended. So let me just show you a checkmate. So let me see if I get this right. So like this, and this is the mate del pastor. It's called in Spanish. I don't know how it's called in English. The fool's mate, maybe. So yeah, and checkmate. So checkmate, you win. Checkmate, Alice wins, and you can see now the move history. For now, it's very, very basic. You can we can think about lots of things that can be added on top of this.
One of the things is that game history that you see there. That's the foundation for the work that we are working with Seed about game reputation.
Yep.
Which is his reputation system towards game. That's the bit that is going to go towards that.
Amazing.
Cool.
That's interesting. It really shows you how complicated these applications could be. So, how would these applications actually run on the network? Well, we do have a video about that, but before we watch that video, we're finally gonna do the thing. Junli, do the thing, and we are going to attempt to actually install and maybe even run Holochain. So I have this is the, I also pre-set up Kali just in case, but this is the Ubuntu subsystem. We're going to see which one works better. So I'm looking at my notes here. So we already have Nix shell installed and loaded. So what I'm going to do now is, well, first of all, let me just double check something here. Nope, that's not what I want to do. That was a little beep thing. Sorry about that. Properties. Just want to see if I can fonts. Gonna make the font bigger. There we go. Hopefully that reads better. And now we're going to use Nix shell in order to make a local clone. So we're gonna invoke. I don't think we need sudo for this. I'm just gonna use sudo just in case. But Nix shell. And then we're going to argster this, and then we're going to flavor it for, that's how tired I am. Happy dev. And this should, if this works, makes the binaries available for the shells that we're going to load. And if this method doesn't work, then we're going to use the rust method. I'll put the password in. Alright, so even though I did that, let me just double check something here. Oh, I don't think I did this. Oh, wait. We don't have Nix shell on this yet. Hang on. So we're actually going to do that first. Let's do the Nix shell thing first. I forgot. I was actually updating and upgrading the Unix subsystem on this. We actually have to do the Nix shell. So this is going to be even more complicated, and hopefully this won't take too much time. So let's try to install Nix here. So sudo install. We're going to make this downloadable. Dash M755. I'm gonna O this shit. This is where it gets complicated, okay? So we're gonna ID, set up the ID for it. Use G, and we're gonna ID it as well for the G, and then Nix. And I hope I typed this correct, because if not, I'll just copy paste directly from my notes here. Okay, so that should work, and now we're gonna actually curl the Nix shell. No, sorry, .org. I just realized this eats up half the screen. I did not notice that. Let me fix that problem. Joimp. But the font should be bigger and more easy to read, hopefully. So let's go back here, install. And we're gonna add a little wall here and sh this. And I just did a typo. Durl, it's curl with a mullet. That's what Durl is. Related to the word Daryl. Alright, so now we're curling this over. This should only take like a minute. Probably gonna take slightly longer than I did last time I said. Error. Ah, it's a space issue. Let's see. Ah, jeez. Yeah, because I have to redo all the spacing on this. I'm still gonna source this ship, and I'm just gonna copy paste it, just see if it works. Because if not, then we're gonna have to go back to the all right. Let's clear this and let's just do it again, just to make sure there wasn't any like weird issue here. If not, I'm still gonna play the video on how you would set up a holochain for this, but I still want to attempt to go through this first, because again, every time we do live code on the show, and we're literally probably going to do an episode at some point that is just going to be called The Coding Gods, and it's legit just going to exist just to like correct all the demo god mistakes from the previous episode. So that's going to be funny and fun. Just correct this here. There we go. So we're curling this again. And I'm going to pray that we haven't run out of, like, truly run out of space. Alright. We're still going to move on with this. If not, I'll try to switch over to Kali. Alright. We're just going to go as this. If this doesn't work, I'll load up Kali and see if we get different results. Hopping over to my notes here on Holochain. So we're going to do the same thing where it's, we're actually going to go back in time and do the whole Nix command. Let's try that without sudo, because that means I don't think this installed properly. Oop. Because we're running out of space. Alright, so once again, Ubuntu has failed me, just like it does on my other computers. And I'm going to load Kali instead and pray that this works on here. If it doesn't work, we're just going to look at the other video and then end the episode early, which makes sense because I'm getting tired and stuff anyhow. So now we're loading up Kali's subsystem, and hopefully we should be able to see it on here now. Yay. I'm going to see if I can make the font bigger on this. Okay, I'm pretty sure you should be able to read it even on like a smartphone, but you know, I'm just trying to make things a bit easier here. 0.20 font. See if I have to adjust it on this end. Oh yeah. But this should be more legible now. Okay, so we're going to try the same thing here. We're just going to double check that Nix has installed itself. I'm just going to copy paste it just to save some time. This should just recopy everything over. I don't think we're going to go through the same error as last time. We're going to find out in a moment. Because if not, then we're going to do the slow, painful method of doing all of this in Rust. Let's see. Error, next build does not exist. Enable cell into our... Something about root. Alright, so I'm going to try the Nick shell command. If it doesn't work, then we're going to do the really sad Rust method here. So argster, and then we're going to flavor this motherfucker. Oh, we'll just use the APT method then. I didn't even know there was one. Okay. Sudo apt fix broken install. So we're going to try to fix all this shit here. It's going to take a little bit. Because there's a lot of dependencies. To the point where, okay, let's see. Error code. Broken pipe. Let's try that again. Oh. Duh. Doesn't know what a U is. Knows what a Y is. I just want to see if we get the same error again. And here comes the next instant reward. Alright. Let's just try to install this. No packages. Or specify a solution. I am going to try the ATP thing on the Ubuntu if that doesn't work. But let's just try the Nix command anyhow. Because if not, we'll just do everything in Rust. So I just want to go back to Ubuntu, and we're going to try that ATP command. And if that doesn't work, then we'll just do everything in Rust. Sorry, ATPY install. Alright, actually, let me just look up, because I forgot what the command thing was. Should have copy pasted the command. Ubuntu ATP Nix shell. Let's see. I might have to do a modification. Let's see. I don't know if we're on subsystem 2 or 1, but I might have to just realize there might be a different thing for Windows subsystem. But let me go look up something real quick. Let's see. All right, here. Let's do a slightly more complicated method where it's like, let's try both. So I'm just gonna, so I can find out what the command is, and then if not, I might do some modifications from the Windows subsystem thing I just saw in my notes. Yeah, Nix bin. Let's see. Yeah, and I still have the install problem. So we're going back to Ubuntu. This is, it always gets me with typos. That always kills me. Typos will always be the end of me. So now we're going back to Ubuntu. We're going to sudo apt install y nix bin. Alright, I'm going to just do that without the y. Why is it unable to locate it now? Huh. Going crazy. Going crazy. Alright, let's do everything the painful way and do everything in Rust. Ah. So we should have Rust already pre-installed on Ubuntu because I've done that 8 million years ago, although I might have not updated it yet. Let's see. So we're going to use cargo. First, let me clear all this shit. Scroll back up. Do all of that. We're going to do cargo install path creates Holochain. Crates. C-R-A-T-S. Alright, hang on. Let me just copy pasta this because I might be losing my eyesight right now. Still the same error. It's not a directory. Why? Fuck my life. Let's try sudoing it, just in case. Hmm. Let's see. Da-na-na-na-na-na. If not, I might have to go back to Cali. But before I do that, let's I just want to look into the subsystem stuff that we're talking about here. Yeah, no, I do have space. The problem is that there's overall space problems with this computer that we want to redo the streaming computer in like a couple of days. And that's because I think that's been killing me. Let me just do all of this shit just to make sure that we're not running on an older Windows subsystem here. And while that goes, I'm actually going to switch over to see if I can build on Rust on Kali. Because I have it on Kali as well, if I remember correctly. And just to note, I am not the best coder and shit, so. Let's see. P, which wasn't expected, is valid in this context. What do you mean not valid in this context? Hang on. Actually, I'm going to try and experiment in Kali while this still loads. See what error we're getting. Sub-processes. Hold on, let me just double check something. I just want to make sure that I'm just doing everything that I possibly can that's right here. Even if it's bonkers. So I just did Qimu, and I'm going to do the long-ass bin FMT support. That's why I'm copying pastas, because this will be a long one. No, execute, cool. Okay. And then we're just going to state that that happens with every Windows login here. Okay. Then I should be able to continue to do this. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to go through all my available options before I, like, worst comes to worst, I might be able to load up a, like, VM and do this. But I'm just being thorough and just trying all my different options here. Yeah, that's my thing. See, so here's the issue. I did not do the install for the operating system on the streaming computer. That is entirely a different DCG 201 member, or I should say ex-DCG 201 member that's not here right now. So when they get back, okay, it seems like it's partly working now. But when they get back, that's when I'm going to redo the streaming machine and reallocate memory and crap like that. All right, let me just try the Nick shell command one last time. Maybe that's also the problem with the Kali one. Yep, not working there. All right, my question is, I have Rust installed, I know that. My question is, why can't I do the cargos? Because this is lacking a cargo Tom file, but it's like, should have these. Just double check something here. Hmm. Because if not, I'm actually going to try to skip over to the Git setup and see what possibly is going to go wrong with all of this. All right, so to make sure I'm not going completely crazy, I just want to go over the Windows subsystem stuff again. Because again, it might be, again, normally I would know which version of Windows subsystem, and I know I can go look it up technically, but it's more of that I don't know, because I didn't set this up myself. Let me try doing these other binaries, see if that works. Welcome to the part of terminal stuff where you just bang your head against the wall until something might work. Everything works there. Let me just go back to Kali and double check something. Okay. Because I'm going to try this on Kali now, and again, worst comes to worst, I'm going to play the other video while I start up a VM. So I'm actually going to get rid of Ubuntu right now. It should default back to Kali automatically. Now that I have all of that, I'm going to try the Nick shell command, see if anything possibly fucking works. Let's try the ATP. Sorry, APT. Now we're going to attempt to fix the packages again. See if anything changes. Yep. Because even though I have Rust installed on both of these, for some reason, it does not want me to create the cargo paths. And I don't know why. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the Git part of this and just see what happens when I actually run this. It's probably going to fail, but I'd rather run it and find out than to like quit prematurely. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clear all of this. Because again, my bet it's that everything's gonna fail because I don't have Nix properly set up. But we're gonna try this. Oop. Get clone. Get clone. Get at this get address. Same here too, Phil. Yeah, I know where I fucked up here. Hold on. That's not the URL it follows. I have to actually cut off the HTTP part because I'm dumb. Or not. Oh, it's the colon crap. Hold on. Yep, problem's always me with my colon. Because Git is extremely useful. It's a lot better than what we used to do before. But it's just, no, let's see. Key. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm just going to directly clone this. Let's see. Now I just want to see what the advice is here. So we're going to purge. Oh, okay, he's telling me how to purge space. I will try that. All right, no, okay, so we're back to here. So let me just clear everything again. Because I try to do this for like how people view things. And I'll do this. All right, so I'm going to try to follow the advice in chat from 0x00_byte, which I appreciate, by the way, even if it doesn't work, because this computer is really weird. The memory allocations on this is really weird and everything. So a lot of times when things don't work, it's that a lot of times we're doing them correctly. It's literally I'll have the DCG201 now X member will look at this machine, realize, oh fuck, I put up a wall between these two, get rid of that, and then it works. That's a lot of that. So, but I'm gonna try this here because this seems like this should work just by reading it. So sudo. Oh yeah, I forgot to do That's actually something I forgot to do on here. So I'm gonna try both. Okay, so now we're gonna do the purge version of this. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the auto clean. And now we're gonna try to do the same commands as before with the Nix shell. See if that works, and I'll definitely try that on Ubuntu if this works. Let's see. So let me go back to the installing Nix first, because that's where the first group of errors were. Let's see. Seems like it's going. Whoop. All right, let's try the source home file. Because again, a lot of the file systems are off by this, not only because it's a Linux subsystem, but also because, again, the memory on this is so weird. Like, I don't even have the Windows Store on here, even though this is running Windows, which is not my default. I don't prefer Windows. It's more of an OBS thing. All right, so now we're going to actually... Sorry. You can tell I'm getting tired, right? But then if this fails, I'll actually, while this is going on, I will actually open up Ubuntu. I'll try to follow your same advice on Ubuntu. The reason why I have both Ubuntu and Kali, well, I have Kali for like doing like command lines for oh, it looks like it's actually going. I do have Kali for like actual like penetrative test stuff. Yeah, no, it's just yesterday was so fun, but like I'll put it this way. I think yesterday I had like 3 or 4 hours of sleep and like an hour nap, so I had 4 total hours, and then like I went like right from work, getting ready for a shower, to go all the way to Brooklyn to meet two friends of mine, and then I stayed at their place. Like we got back to their place at like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I left at 11 a.m. in the morning after like napping there. So, you know, and the other problem with a lot of these is that this is going to also take a while. So, but I did forget to do auto remove. I usually do. I always tell people I forgot my own advice. I always do. Every time I start any version of Linux, I do the and if it's Ubuntu or Debian in particular, I do the update, upgrade, and auto remove, and I actually forgot to type in auto remove. So this is the part that I normally preload that will probably take a while. So yeah, I'm auto removing now on Ubuntu, so things will probably go over. Oh man, I hope you get some sleep soon, man. CDOs, which CTFs? We our group occasionally we do a thing where you can go to Discord and anyone can log into the CTF, and we'll be doing like we're gonna go back to this now. We do like a CTF like when we feel like it. It's like every like month or three. And we actually just did one just because it was so unique. It started yesterday at 8 p.m. and it finished 8 p.m. today because now we're in Sunday. But basically, for like, it was a 24-hour CTF that was just reverse engineering binaries, and I've never seen that before. So we entered that, and I did a few stuff, and I don't know where we placed because I don't really care about winning the thing. It's more of like to test our own skills and get a feel of what CTFs are. And yeah, I thought that was really unique. Probably in like March or April, we'll probably do another CTF. So that'd be great. I actually haven't heard of HTB. Probably because I'm a noob or a scrub. But yeah, it's like I have no idea what HTB is. That sounds like a venereal disease. So there's all of that. Shit, I might not even get like a snack. I'm like getting that tired. All right, so just by using normal auto remove on Ubuntu, I got rid of a lot. So now I'm actually going to do the purge version of this. Just to see if there's anything left. That properly did it. So now I'll just resize. Wonder what's getting stuck in Kali. Cool. I hope that at worst your team stays at their rank, but I hope you climb up. I hope you win this damn thing. I hope you're in the top 5 or fuck even in the first place. So good luck out there. If you need us to like shout out that your team's working on the CTF, like if you have a post on Twitter or something somewhere, DM us or tag us in it, and we'll reshare it. Right. So right now, because sometimes like Kali will get stuck, and then Ubuntu will not get stuck. Oh, it's asking a question. That's why it's stuck. I'm stupid. So I'm going between two different terminals. That's what's going on. This is why I usually put -Y with everything, so I don't have to deal with all of this. Because if the worst comes to worst, that's why I love these subsystems. Like, let's say me agreeing to this stuff crashes Kali, I can just reinstall Kali from scratch. I haven't like destroyed my own system. Oh, hack in the box. I didn't know that's what its abbreviation was. No webs annoying. We hang out. We have a Discord link. It's barely used to the point where our end commander always half jokes that it's dead. It's dead, Jim. I will give you the link. Just give me one moment. So you can go in there. We mainly use it. Sometimes we chat and post stuff, but it usually spikes when we do the CTF stuff. Although there was no one chatting this time for the CTF. I know there were people working on the CTF because I saw challenges being done on our group, but I did not see I did not see that coming. No, I did not see the any chat going on. So usually there's people asking questions and sharing information, sometimes telling me the password is wrong. But that's the link I just posted in chat to our Discord right there. Let's see. Yeah, you can reach out. I'm not personally myself, I'm not on Discord a lot, but I am on there. Another question. Just saying yes to everything. Because again, worst comes to worst, I just reinstall Kali. I'm not losing anything. I literally have Kali to pen test and experiment, and then the Ubuntu subsystem to pen test and experiment. So, although now I can't remember what command I used. So when this is done doing that, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, no, thank you for reminding me that I need to stop being a scrub Linux user and actually auto remove what just happened. I now have a blank screen in the subsystem. I hope it's because it's just loading stuff. Hang on. Yeah, nothing's going on here. Oh boy, did I kill this subsystem? Oh no. Noes. Oh noes. I forgot what command I did last time. I'm gonna wait like a couple of seconds, and if nothing happens, I will just close it and attempt to load Kali again. And if that doesn't work, we'll try this with Ubuntu. At worst, I'll have two broken subsystems that I just, after the stream, I just go in and reinstall. No biggie. All right, so it seems like this bricked this, so let's turn that off and let's reload it. Okay, so it does exist. Let's see. What was I doing? So now that that happened, let's try the Nix shell command. I can't remember which command I used last. I hope for the best. Oh, it still needs to, okay. Oh, I have to, all right. I have to unfuck this. Everyone who probably knows like Linux really well is probably crazy, which is weird because I've been using Linux for years and I've done like other crazy complicated shit. It's just I'm very tired and I normally don't do this type of stuff again. This is the first time we're gonna do Nix shell to install Holochain. Yes. Yes. Lots of stuff here. No wonder why I didn't have enough space. Clarify to me because I'm very tired of what you mean by bridged. Possibly. All right. Now let's try the Nix shell command and see if it works. Let's try installing it. Yes. Now let's see what happens. Maybe everything will properly install this time. Okay. There's an error code with the DPJ, but I'm going to ignore that for now. And let's try this again. Getting status of no such file or directory. Wait a minute. I think it's because I have to do that. Yeah, I have to do the source home thing first. Let's see if this works. Why can't it find it? Ah! Okay, the only other thing I can think of is to try Ubuntu again, and then worst comes to worst, I can attempt to do a VM. It's probably a combination of let's see. What was the question? Well, okay, so the thing about Kali Linux on Windows subsystem is it's a super bare bones version of it. It doesn't have a lot of things that like the actual desktop virtualization one ships with. I've had to install a lot of things that you normally come default with Ubuntu and Debian for this version. That's one of the reasons why I have the other Ubuntu one, because the other Ubuntu one is literally full Ubuntu, but it's just the terminal. There's delay mainly because of the restream and also the local internet connection here, because I know when I stream on other internet connections, it's way faster. But YouTube, I have it set high res so that you can read everything here. So YouTube probably has the most amount of delay right now. So Taskell has not been configured. Okay. Let's go investigate that. Slowly losing my mind. Alright, let's try this. I had to sit there and think for a minute. I'm just going to install and see what pops up. Still an error code. Why are there so many errors in this? Ah! Let's see if this even works. Why do I have a feeling it has to do with the memory issues on here? Let me think, let me think, let me think. Yeah, I already cleaned Ubuntu. That's why I'm actually going to switch over right now. And we'll see how that goes. So just to again remind me where my brain is at right now. I just want to run the command and see what error comes up. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Alright, hang on. Because I already did all that stuff to free up space, and it did free up a lot of space. It's just more of me trying to do all this bullshit. Let's try it the boring way first, see what happens. That's honestly most of computing is just doing shit just to see what happens. And again, I know for a fact that because of the way the other person installed this, that the subsystems have like a weird way of doing their own folders. So that could be an actual reason of why this is not fully working. But again, we're going to find out. Let's just see what loads up here first, and then I can try that. I'm thankful that you're in here trying to help out here. My thing that I hate, because I usually go in and I usually do this first. Because a lot of times this sort of shit takes completely for fucking forever. So, I remember one time on one episode, ultimately, unfortunately, the test network did not deploy, and yes, I am very tired. We're already at 1 a.m. So I guess, I think at 1:30 I'm going to do lemons at the latest for D-Live. But no, one time we were loading a test network, and the test network ultimately didn't work because it was offline that night, and I didn't notice. But like literally the install, I think the install took like 8 minutes, and when I realized, oh, this was gonna go on forever, I think we just like because it was actively installing, so it made a nice visual. I just put on some like crazy like EDM and hardcore, like drum and bass music, and occasionally I'd turn on the black light with the costume, and dance for everybody, just kind of making fun of like how slow everything was going. So right now it's unpacking the channels because it's still unpacking the channels because we're using the very, very, very slow curl method. Okay, so that actually installed. That's new. That didn't work before. And then we're going to try to source this to make this available. I hope this works. Okay. All right, so we actually might get progress somewhere here. All right, let's go back. I'm going to manually type this. I'm not even going to clear anything. Sorry, 2 dashes, argster, flavor, app dev. Huh. All right, we're going to try your method, even though this is technically going to install this twice. Just to say that I tried everything. Don't you always love when you have a victory and then immediately you have like a failure? It's like hopping over a wall just to run face first into a wall. Unable to locate package. That might be something that's unique to Kali. So I am just going to quickly load up Kali just to see what's going on, see if I do the same commands and get better results. Okay, and then I'm doing this in Kali now. There were a bunch of errors, but let me try the same command. Yeah, I know, this whole thing is screwing. Like, you have no idea how many times I've done an episode thinking that this will work. I think the only thing I can do, or that I know how to do, is I can literally close out the window and then close it and then load the subsystem again. Because I know you're supposed to reboot this shit. Let me just try this real quick. Where was I going? Alright, hold on. Message file or directory. I will put it this way, it is convenient because for me, doing a virtualized thing takes up way more resources. Let me try doing this to both. And then we will run the nix command again. Because the definition of insanity, which is also the definition of programming, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Still no file over. Okay, now I'm curious. I'm going to just try the cargo thing again, even though I do have Rust installed on these. I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, I can't. Ah! So, I think I might just go into the Git and just try it, just to see what happens. But I do want to try one last thing that's kind of random, okay? I just want to see what happens if I use npm. Wait, did that just work? Windows Defender went off. That was hilarious. That was probably their tech of punching things through the firewall. I think so. What the hell just happened to my Ubuntu? All right, let's try. Why is Firefox? Oh, I see what's going on. Hang on. Let's try this again. Okay, so believe it or not, npm might have saved their asses. All right, let me just try to do the create. I'm gonna laugh if this actually did it. And then we're gonna do. This is gonna be hilarious. And then we're gonna init it. Because there is an npm package, but usually npm gives me like an absolute ridiculous amount of bullshit. Let me actually do this to make sure I'm running the latest version. Hold on. We're gonna clear the npx here. I'm gonna laugh. I've only had this once where npm saved my life once on the stream. And this would be the second official time. What happened is that I'm trying an npm package that does Holochain instead of doing it from GitHub, and apparently that actually worked. But I know the words "worked" and npm usually don't exist in the same sentence, but it has happened before, and I think that just happened again. So we're gonna now run this, the raid tools, and that's actually gonna open a Firefox window. And I might be able to copy it's probably a localhost URL to, yeah, holy shit. Holy fucking crap. Let's go to the browser I have open, and then I'll turn on the browser mode. This is ridiculous. Yes, it's running on port 3000. Let me turn on browser. Yeah, here it is. At least this is what I think it is. This is hilarious. Here I am trying to futz around with Nix and shit, trying to be all uber elite hacker, and I actually run npm, because usually npm kills Ubuntu, and it actually worked. And this is why programmers have entirely gray hair once they reach 24. And I'm 34. Because, wow, okay. So this is sort of like, what's interesting is, from what I understand, it's both running the chain, and it's also like, these are like the visual controls on like making an app for this. And this is basically, it's called scaffold. So it's both the from my understanding, it's running the Holochain, and then it's also running all these tools in browser so that you can do like minute man the middle modifications with your application. So you normally open up another dev window and do that. So wasn't able to do anything with the actual Holochain itself to run. I can still try it, but I consider this a success. I'm actually going to close this window, and I'm going to Control C to stop. And let's refocus here. That's so cool. So let me clear everything. I just want to try running the Git folder just to see what happens. And it just resized all my text. Hang on. Actually, let's restart this one last time. Just so that I have like a proper window here. Just double check. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, I just want to run. My hair will be gray in like 5 years. Albino. Ooh. So you probably heard there's a movie that I love called Me, Myself, and Irene. It's not entirely PC, but that's what partly makes it fun. And there's nothing done in like spite of things. And there's an albino character who's really awesome in the film. And like at one point Jim Carrey is like, well, I can't keep calling you it was some like nickname for like pale skin or something, like he called him like Pale Boy or something, and he's like, what's your name? And the joke is that the albino goes, my name's Casper, my friends call me Whitey. And it's like, oh god, I can't escape calling you bad things. So I just want to try the cloning, and in fact I just want to see if I can put it in. I'm just gonna try their straight command just to see what the fuck happens. If not, I already cloned the thing. Yes. Alright, so I'm just going to CD into a Holochain. Wait, hold on. The fuck? Hold on. Alright, let's properly git clone this. Grumbly noises. Okay, I just want to see what happens if I just run this as is. So we're just going to properly clone this. There's still the psyched stuff in there from last time, which I find hilarious. It was a couple of meetings ago. I can't remember exactly which meeting. It was a really fun one. Psyched is this outdated protocol that that GNU and Free Software Foundation did 1 billion years ago that basically base HTTPS and stuff and WebRT solved. And it still runs because it's decentralized, but it exists as a half-life to the point where outside of SecureSec, even Free Software Foundation themselves keeps forgetting Psyched exists. So I did a whole like archival dig up of this protocol. I love that all that stuff is still there. So now I'm gonna CD into Holochain. Okay, so all that stuff is in here. I don't think this is gonna work, but we're gonna try this. So we're gonna run the Nix shell, see what happens. What is gonna happen? And then what we'll do is we'll watch a video from FOSDEM of how this guy set up the Holochain, and we'll look at 2 other quick things about Holochain, and then I think we're done for this episode, and we'll raid on Twitch, and we will do the we'll try to do the lemon treasure rewards for all the people out there on DLive. Hey, I'm 34, so I resemble that remark. I just saw a chat. So we're still waiting. I'm just gonna hit enter, see it. I don't know if I have to like load up a separate thing. Because apparently this is now gonna compile the Holochain, and hopefully I won't lose signal here, because that would majorly suck ass. Watch, I'm gonna probably look up how to install Nix on a Windows subsystem of Linux on YouTube, and it's gonna be like one command stuff. Yeah, you can message me on Discord. The thing about Discord is that I'm more on it than normal recently due to just recent events, but I would say I'm on it either once every other day or once every 3 days. So when you message me, I'll try to check it tonight and tomorrow, but if you message me, especially since I also get a lot of like cryptocurrency spam for real, don't expect me to like respond once like right away. If you message me on like Discord, wait like 3 or 4 days. If you don't hear from me then like reach out on like the live stream, or you can email info@defcon201.org or something like that in order to do that. I also just want to mention that for anyone who's watching this on Twitch, um, I might have to kill this because this is just running. I think it's because it's trying to run a shell that doesn't exist. But if you are on Twitch, we also have a GitHub widget, and that I have pinned the Holochain and stuff like that. So if you want to see what repositories I'm looking at, like what I'm pulling from and everything, we have those on there. So anyhow, this is honestly taking too long, so I have officially given up when it comes to this. We might go into terminal later, but I'm done trying to load Holochain directly from this, and I will just add this to. We were able to do it with npm, but I wasn't able to do it through Nix Shell and Rust itself, so I'm gonna add that to eventually. I'm thinking like this is probably gonna happen in April or something. We're gonna legit do an episode of like, here are all the times that the demo gods did not like us on Crypto Barons, and now everything works, and I'm going to show it running, and then I'm going to explain why it didn't work last time. Because I have a bunch of those. Like, for example, for Mazda Coin, I was actually one command off from IPFS from the wallet not loading. I have the wallet now. Like, it completely loads, so I could show you the wallet and stuff. And we're going to do an episode of just of that. It's going to have the numeri things, various test chains I couldn't run, shit like that. So let me just quickly look here. Okay, so let's see. So that also uses Nix Shell, so I can't load that. Kind of funny stuff here. We'll look at the code of this before we leave. So we're going to quickly look at the code of this, and then I'm going to show you a video that was from FOSDEM of how to run Holochain. So let's go back to browser mode, and we're going to kind of wrap up this episode here. So I hope people are at least learning from my misery. And again, if you like the content that you see here, you can like, click, share, and subscribe on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. If you do it during a show, I get the notification pop up and I cheer you on. You can also do it whenever. But what it does is, one, it helps our channel. It helps the channel out. It helps us out with the streaming, because we're not partnered with anyone. We're not streaming for profit. Normally, when we stream for money, it's for charity stuff. Eventually, we're going to set up like a Patreon-like things and cryptocurrency donations. Although I can tell you on DLive, we actually have our Tron Bitcoin address. So our Tron Bitcoin. I'm like an old man. Oh, he's playing the Nintendo with his Bitcoins now. We actually have our BitTorrent coin address, our BTT address, and our TRX address, which is Tron. So you could send us any of those cryptocurrencies directly through DLive with a click of a button. Eventually, particularly for Crypto Barons, I'm going to have a little widget that's going to scroll on the stream all the different QR codes and wallet strings, so you could donate us directly cryptocurrency. But we have to work out some treasury stuff before we properly do that, because we want to do this proper. We don't want to seem like a pump and dump scam and stuff, because we're not. So this is the Element Chat. That was that chat program that I showed you could run chess. Its makeup is, it seems like it's half TypeScript, half Rust, and then there's a make file to cobble it all together, a shell to run it, which is Nix Shell, and Nix in of itself. So unfortunately, we can't run this because, again, I haven't been able to do the Nix Shell, but it's like you build the tools, and you clone this repo, and you build the WASM, and then you assemble the DNA with the HC, which is involved with Nix, and then you run it by npm install and running it with your test. To activate the needed Rust. I'm also going to laugh if it turns out that I just didn't install Rust properly and that's why it's not running, but I'll do that off camera. So that's the chat, and it works exactly like Messenger or AOL chat or AOL chat. That ages me. It works like Signal and stuff like that. It's very, like, if you've used a modern online chat system in the past, like 3 or 5 years, you know exactly what to expect. But this is actually running through the blockchain using both to store messages and user accounts, things like that. And then the other thing is there's an actual client version that's written in JavaScript where you use the npm install. That's the thing that I was kind of using earlier in order for that to run. So that's all that was. Last thing I'm going to cover with all of this is the new development, which they brought up at FOSDEM, is neighborhoods. So I'm just going to read what they say here. Net-connected communities require similar basic tools to function. It's invisible, cultural patterns create unique blah, blah, blah. Power mix, blah, blah, blah. So neighborhoods is a design philosophy from Holochain HApps that help groups intentionally design and share specific culture patterns. It centers on reputation exchange. We're building to help this coherence across neighborhoods. So from what I understand, what a neighborhood is that any application you can spring up a neighborhood on, and basically that you can deal with the microtransaction stuff, you can do the voting, and it's kind of like, to some degree, like Holochain websites, but not really. Like, that's my understanding of what neighborhoods are. They covered this all at FOSDEM. I don't know if we have a recording of it with us live streaming, but it was at FOSDEM, so when FOSDEM 2022, when those videos come out, I'm definitely going to watch that video. And there's also a HApp launcher that they're currently working on. Ooh, you can actually download the launcher. I'm curious. You do the launcher, and then you... Oh, there is a GitHub for Element Chest. The fuck? Open launcher, install new app. This is interestingly complicated. I didn't even notice those in there. So just look. Holochain launcher for Windows, MSI. All right, I'm curious. Let's look at chess. Not much here. I look back here with the launcher, download the launcher, install the launcher. Okay, that. Install app, and you select it. Okay. Let's try the launcher. So for Windows here, let's see. So download, install the Microsoft WebView package. This might kill me here because I don't really have an account on here. I'm going to see what this is. I might already have it. Actually, let me just quickly check, see if I already have it. WebView. I have a folder for it, but let me double check here. So let's see. Tiny installer. All right, I'm gonna try this, and hopefully I don't have to reset my computer, because that would suck ass. All right, it's gonna be a download first. It's from an official Microsoft website, so I'm doing something correct. So first I'm going to attempt to install this. If it asks for a reboot, I'm not going to do it, and we'll just end the episode. We'll play the video, and I'll end the episode early. I just want to see what this HApp launcher is like, because it's a cool piece of technology, so of course I want to see what the fuck's going on with it. Let's see. What that window app do? Honestly, I'd rather be dealing with this than fucking around with app image on Linux. That would drive me absolutely fucking crazy. Alright, so it's now running, it's now downloading the runtime. And I can't find it. Okay, now I'm curious about something, because I've had it where, like, Windows stuff fails, but I might be able to do this. Let's go to Chocolatey, because I do have that set up in I almost said Power Stone. Nah, I just almost said PowerPoint. In PowerShell, the thing that turns End Commander's spine into glass and makes him poop gremlins and stuff. You know, rightfully so. Let's see if that's here. Hope I typed it correctly. Okay. Wow, really? Nothing for WebView? Let's see. Normal view. Oh, actually, there is no... I didn't know Chocolatey had a Twitch. I'm going to leave this tab open just to check that out. I did not know that a package management system for Windows has a fucking Twitch. I have officially seen everything. Alright, so, I'm going to just try something else again. That doesn't work. Let's see. I'm just going to try this. I know, I just, like, for me, app image, like, they're trying to make everything simple, but in my opinion, it's like, sometimes it gets even worse than this, to be honest. Like, sometimes app images, I have to do, like, all these crazy adjustments in order to make them work. Sometimes they just run. So I'm like, ah! Alright, so I'm loading this installer, and we'll see if anything happens. My eyes are extremely droopy. It's so droopy, they might as well do Droopy the dog. Okay, so. I actually think I might have actually clicked the wrong architecture. And that's why I couldn't do it. Because I'm downloading the x64 version. I thought this was an x86 machine. I've selected it before and things work, but I don't know at this point. Everything is just crazy. But now I have it working. So once we do, I just want to see what this alleged HApp, this Holochain decentralized app loader is like. The Holochain launcher. Once I do that, I'll be able to do some fun things. There's a .deb. Seems like they've covered everything. There's even something in Arch Linux repo. That's hilarious. That tech, I might be able to actually use frickin' MSY S2 in order to do that. That would be hilarious. All right, let's see if it's done. Oh, what is it with this thing where there's not enough fucking space? So it seems like the lynch point here is that I just really, really, really need to redo the memory on this on the streaming machine. That seems to be the actual issue that's going on. So here's how we're gonna end the episode. Again, there was a Web3 track, and there was an awesome talk called Scaffold a Holochain App in 10 minutes. I don't think this might be the full 10 minutes, but basically I found a video of that talk because all these are like live streamed and they put the videos up later. But the person who did this, Cordoba, he actually made a only a couple more minutes. He's going. He uploaded a video of him actually doing the using the Holochain Rapid application development tools and build a application from scratch. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch that video, and as that video goes on, I'm going to search for a Twitch channel for us to raid, and then during that raid, if you're on DLive, I'm going to try to drop off at least 50, if not 100 lemons to who's ever on DLive. So I'm actually going to use this time, because once this... actually, you know what? I'm going to use this time to just quickly say this, and then we'll watch the video, and then I'll do the spiel to end it. But basically, again, thank you for watching the show. I know this wasn't the most eventful show. Again, this is the classic show where I cover everything really thoroughly on a blockchain topic, and then we actually try to run the tech, and then it either barely works or nothing works because, you know, the demo gods. So I'm going to add this. This is, I think, like the 12th thing to the makeup episode where we actually load everything properly and then explain, oh, it's because we had a memory problem, or our CPU wasn't powerful enough, or we needed to use a separate computer, or this works better on Linux, or this worked better on Windows, and shit like that. Or I forgot a command in the command line, or a step in the command line process. So that's what we're going to do. But let's watch this video and watch someone, unlike me, failing at loading the Holochain, except for NPM. NPM actually worked for once. Instead of watching me for the past hour or so fail at loading Holochain locally because of memory issues, let's look at a video where someone not only has Holochain running, but how he's using the scaffolding and the rapid application development tools in order to actually make a decentralized Holochain app or an H app. So we're going to watch this video. I'll do the spiel. If you're on Twitch, we're going to raid another channel. If you're on DLive, you're going to get some lemons. So let's watch this, and then we'll conclude this episode. So let's see what Kodabra has to say here.
Hello, Fosdem, and welcome to Scaffolding Your Own Holochain application framework, which means that with Holochain you can build pure peer-to-peer applications. Like if
we're
I
not
want
going
to
to watch
build
the
a
entire
decentralized
video, but
version
this
of
video is
Twitter,
actually longer
which
than I
is
thought.
Clutter, actually, in a Holochain. There is a project named Clutter. I can build peer-to-peer applications that only run in the computers of the users that are actually running the application. So with Holochain, you can build decentralized networks that can be private, and they can do things like wikis or nodes or even peer-to-peer currencies. There's a lot that you can do with Holochain, which is why I'm excited about this project. So before, it was quite hard to get started with Holochain. There were a lot of overhead issues, boilerplate you needed to write. And this is why we now have a new rapid application development tool, which is what I'm going to be showing you today, from which we can generate a full-blown application and get started as easy as and as quickly as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to start. So the way that you can get started using the tool is just with npm init holochain, right? This is going to download the generator and run it for you. And this is what we get. We get this screen, which is where we configure our application and the way that we want it to work and so on. And then we are going to click Tab, and then that's going to generate all the boilerplate for us so that we can get started quickly. To use this scaffolding tool, there are a couple or three concepts that you need to grasp, which is Holochain application, that's an easy one, then DNA, then zones. If you want to learn more in detail about them, you can just click on core concepts and it will give you detailed explanations about those concepts. For now, I'm just going to give you a high-level overview so that you can understand what's going on here. And what I'm going to do is generate a wiki type application. So users can post new wiki pages, and there are some editor roles. Only the editors can edit the pages, and then you will be also able to search by the content of the page, right? So that you can get customized results for your watch. Okay, so application name, I'm going to call it my awesome wiki. There are some UI templates that you can choose from. I'm going to choose Svelte because I like it. And then here, the DNA. So each DNA is like the rules of the game that you're playing. And each DNA will bootstrap its own network, right? So if I have one DNA in my application, that's going to be one network. If I have two DNAs in my application, that's going to be two networks. And in this case, I'm just going to have a main, quote unquote, main DNA, which I'm going to call wiki. And in here, we are going to be storing pages. We are going to be storing roles, basically everything. But then I'm going to have a complementary DNA. Okay, so I'm just adding a new DNA here, which I'm going to call indexer. And this DNA is going to take care about the search functionality, right? So in this DNA, only quote unquote quick and fast, maybe server type nodes are going to be present in here, which are the ones that can have a lot of storage and a lot of bandwidth to serve in search requests, right? Because searching is hard in distributed spaces. So we are going to have some special nodes that are going to be handling that search functionality for us. Okay, so
I just want to note we're going to watch 5 more minutes of this and then we're going to wrap it up.
For now, I'm going to go back to the wiki one. And in here, we are going to have the pages and the roles, basically. So then we need to define the zones. And you can think of zones as Holochain modules, right? So a DNA is a set of zones, and each zone is meant to be a module that could be reused in different DNAs. So in this case, it's quite easy because in this wiki, we are only going to have some pages and roles, and whoever has some role can edit the page. So I'm going to have the pages zone, right? So here we have only one zone, which is pages, and then I'm going to have also the roles zone, right? So we have two zones, pages and roles. And inside the pages zone, I'm going to have only one entry definition, and an entry is a type of data that is going to be stored in the network. So in this case, the page, right? So if we are going to be storing wiki pages, we need to store a single page and then maybe update it and so on. So each page is going to have its content, right? So and this is a JSON sample. So this is an object, JSON object that's from which then the application tool is going to scaffold types for. So this is a sample wiki page, and then I'm deciding it's also important to have the author in here, and the author is going to be a random hash key. In the future, this is going to be better. It's going to recognize this is not only a string, but a public key in itself. But for now, we have to make it interpret as a normal string. And each page can be created, obviously, it can be read, it can be updated also, but we are making it so it cannot be deleted, because it would make it weird to have a page and some links to that page, but then that page be deleted. That's going to be inconsistent for us. So this is the way that you define an entry inside a zone. This one I've made more detail, but the other ones I'm going to skim through. Basically, inside the roles zone, I'm going to have some role definition, which is basically the role name for now. For example, editor, right? And then it cannot be either updated or deleted. And then I'm going to have some role assignment entry, which is actually the role definition hash. And this is some hash. And then the assignee, which is some pub key. And then this can be created and read, but not updated and deleted. Okay, so that's for the wiki DNA. Let's go back to the indexer one, and I'm going to call this search by text zone, and the only entry definition that's going to have is some text content entry definition, which is going to be like content. This is a sample wiki content. For now, and then also the wiki page hash, right? And all this configuration, all the zones and entry definitions and DNAs that you need are going to change depending on your needs. So don't get too fixated on the entries I'm putting here. It actually takes some training to develop, like, okay, I'm going to need the zones, I'm going to need the entry definitions. Here we are just concentrating on getting started as simply as possible. So if you just want to get started with the demo, everything that comes with the scaffolding, that's totally fine as well. So some hash, and this, it can be updated or deleted. Okay, let's say that it can be deleted because we are going to show this with the scaffolding, and we are done for now. We don't need anything else. So I'm just going to click Scaffold Hub. This is the preview, what's going to be generated, and you can go inside and see what's going to be generated for us, right? I'm going to go over it in just a moment. And then we have scaffolded our application, and then it says, okay, you can do manual setup, which is like this, or automatic setup. I like automatic setup, so I'm just going to click this. And as you can see, the automatic setup is running here already, right? So automatic setup, it's installing the normal dependencies that you need. It's also installing Nix, which is the tool that we use in the Holochain ecosystem to handle the dependencies. And in here, we have links to important documentation, important resources that you can use to get started actually developing your application, right? Okay, so now I'm going to just go to, let's see, my awesome wiki. Now we have this scaffolded. I'm going to open Visual Studio Code here just for us to see what just got created for us. Right, and as we saw, and keep in mind the automatic setup is finishing here. It's just doing npm install for now. But for now, we can take a look at what has been generated. So Holochain development right now is done in two main languages, which is Rust for the backend and then normal JavaScript for the frontend, right? Or you could use any other tooling for the frontend. At the end of the day, you can treat Holochain as a normal backend for you. That you point to a local node rather than a node running on a server. So you could build different types of applications. This is a web Holochain application, so its front end, it's written in JavaScript, normal JavaScript. So what do we got here? We have a README with some instructions, right? So you can just publish this to GitHub or to whatever, and everyone could get started with its bootstrap. The automatic setup has finished, so we now, as you can see, there are some node modules and well, okay, everything is set up for us. So I'm going to get here, and then I have already enabled the Holochain caches with this, and then I'm just going to go inside the Nix shell. And for now, I want to run the tests to see that everything is working. Right, and I'm going to pause the recording because this could take some time since Rust compiling takes a bit of time. So Rust finished the compilation, and now the Holochain integration tests are going to run. And in the CLI, what's happening is that every like all the DNA zones and entry definitions have generated some tests, and then those integration tests are being run. So real Holochain nodes are being spawned, and then there are some UI calls that simulate UI calls from the front end to the Holochain nodes, and then it's testing that the functions are behaving as they should, right? So first we are going to let the tests finish, and then we are going to see those tests that have been automatically generated, right? So we have 15 tests passed, perfect. And then what's the code for that? inside tests, we have source, and these are integration tests. These are written in TypeScript, sorry, using the triorama testing framework that Holochain has.
I love that when I want to end this, he gets to the interesting part.
For every DNA, we have a test folder, and for every zone, we also have a test folder. And then every entry definition has generated a test. And then, for example, this is the page entry definition that we talk about. And these are the tests for create, read, update, and delete. And here we can see that we are testing, okay, this is bootstrap, two Holochain nodes, actually. This is call create page, and then make sure that all the inputs, all the results are fine, and then read that page and show that the content is the same, and then update that page and show that everything works correctly, right? So we have tests generated all for every one of those DNAs, zones, and entries. So what else do we have generated? We have generated actually the backend, right? So those tests are testing something. This is the backend that those tests are testing. So for every DNA, we have a DNA folder, and then inside every DNA we have
so as ungraceful
zones.
as this is, and I'm gonna cut the face. That was the talk that was done at FOSDEM, or a piece of it, about using an NPM tool set for Holochain, or just have for all the infrastructure for making their H apps, which are essentially Holochain dApps or decentralized apps. Thank you all for going on this crazy journey for this episode. It is streaming a lot longer than I thought we will. We had a lot to talk through, a lot of math and conceptual stuff to get through. And then, of course, as usual, the terminal/coding kicked my ass. And thank you for 0x00_byte for doing some things that did help out, but you can't fix bad computer arrangement. So hopefully we'll be able to redo this memory stuff before our meeting on the 18th or the 19th, which is going to be entirely live streamed. So I'll post more details about this, hopefully on our website, but definitely on our blog and on our social media, such as at DEFCON201 NJ on Twitch, or DEFCON201 on Instagram. In our Medium blog, you'll see the updates for that all on Monday, even if there's just placeholder stuff. But we are just going to be live streaming on the 18th and the 19th. You'll also know which day on the 18th and 19th and what time in Eastern Standard Time. Next month, we're going to go back first Friday every month and go to hybrids, in which we will be streaming for an hour, part of the 3 to 4 hour meeting, and then doing that online. And by the way, 00_byte, you can show up at any time during our live stream meeting, or in person, or on Crypto Barons, to help me out with operating system and code stuff, just because sometimes, especially since I'm streaming, I usually do this at 8 p.m., but I couldn't do it in time, because as you can see with the bags under my eyes, I woke up super late. So I did it at 10, and that's why we're at stupid as fuck in the morning. So bad news for the DLive folks. For some reason, on any browser, I cannot find the treasure chesting. I actually think now they got rid of that feature on DLive, which would be unfortunate, to be honest. So I can't hand out lemons, but thank you for those in the past who have sent us lemons. That makes it appreciated. I have this Amish beard thing going on. It's driving me crazy. We are going to raid, if you're on Twitch, we're going to raid someone else's stream. There was one stream that I was hoping to do, but right now it's a little wonky. If they set their stream up better, and we run on freaking popsicle sticks, and we run on popsicle sticks and titanium here, so stuff. Oh boy, yeah, that's for you. I'm even later. It sucks. At least we're not running on Brussels time, because FOSDEM killed me. 3 a.m. our time to 1 p.m. our time. That's an insane live streaming schedule. Yeah, no, it's the thing. It's like, I actually want to relax this weekend, because normally I'm an insomniac and I'm awake, but I used up all my insomnia points last night, and I can't go into details what happened, but it was just fun time with friends. Wasn't any hacking thing or stuff. I did bring my lockpicks and stuff. It was fun with friends. And to ask your earlier question, because I did see it, it's not important technically, but I think it's good if you learn lockpicking, because one, it's a new skill. It's really fun. You get to do stuff with more ambidextrous for your hands. It's really cheap to get into. If you need to, you can email me at info@defcon21, or DM us on social media if you have any questions about or show up to Master of Unlocking, which should be on next Sunday. So the next Master of Unlocking show will be on the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you can't wait till then, just DM us or email us at info@defcon201.org, and I can give you links to where you can get cheap beginner kits, practice locks, real world locks that are cheap and easy to get in your local area to practice on, even if you're from another country. Um, and also, to be honest, there's a lot of not only crossover. I'm actually trying to do a talk like this at Big Blacks in Cybersecurity, where not only is there a lot of crossover between the mindset of physical security and digital security, and it uses a lot of same, because after all, physical security came before digital security, and a lot of digital security is built on our understanding what physical security was for thousands of years. But we get so much caught up in the hoopla of like um blue team tactics, red team tactics, purple team tactics, orange team tactics, butthole psychology, um, mitigations and firewalls and all sorts of shit that we often in digital security forget the forest for the trees, which is I'm a big fan of, and a lot of stuff with lockpicking kind of brings you back to that mode of like, okay, like what's the actual threat model? What am I looking for? How do I research to prevent against this? What's the reality of the situation? That's what you're kind of reminded of with Locksport. It's not just a weird fun thing that happens at hacker cons and infosec cons. It actually does have practical applications even in the digital world. And also with like Bluetooth locks coming out, you're gonna need to know both eventually. Thank you. I try to be a nice person. I can be an asshole, but I'm more like an asshole for against evil. I'm an asshole for good. So it's like that's the thing. I watch much stories and Insta about lockpicking. Yeah, no, I try to. I'm actually shocked, real quick, of how many people actually recognize Master of Unlocking me through. I'll put it this way. Okay, so last night, one of the things I went to was I went to a goth club. And not only did I encounter one of our own members that used to come to our meetings in person back when we met in person, but I ran into two Tool members. One who spoke at DEF CON, and they recognized me from Master of Unlocking and the other Tool stuff, and I recognized him from speaking at DEF CON. And this is at a goth meeting in goth bar in Brooklyn. So like that happens all the time. I'm actually shocked of, I'm obviously not lockpicking lawyer. I don't do lockpicking lawyer or lock lab or deviant olem type numbers at all, nor do I care about getting those. But I'm like shocked of how many people know the show and actually like the show, especially when I struggle to open shit and stuff like that. So I hope I see you on the 20th. I'm waiting for stuff in the mail. As soon as I get stuff in the mail, I'm gonna post what the episode's gonna be. If not, I'll just wing something. Because I have a lot of lockpicking tools and teaching tools. Two of them cost basically $100 coming in. I'm not made of money either. This is stuff I've been wanting and needed forever, so I'm excited. The next Crypto Barons. Um, Thank you. Are you trying to date me? I'm trying not to blush. Next Crypto Barons is going to be, we do second and fourth Saturday, so that will be the 26th. That's going to be the last Saturday before this month ends. I have an idea of what I might do. That might be when I do Bitcoin, the history of Bitcoin and the Satoshi paper and all the 8 million spin-offs of Bitcoin and what they are. If not, I'll choose a completely different topic. Next month, we're going to be doing more running code. We actually might be doing some like hardware hacks and stuff. We're just kind of setting that stuff up. Sure, I can shout out your team. I think you misspelled the word pizza, but yeah, I can shout it out now, and I can shout out on Instagram, especially since outside of a Patch Tuesday and our meeting, we're not going to be posting much until the meeting happens. So I'm just joking. But yeah, so as you can see sometimes with Instagram we post like funny memes or filler stuff when we really have nothing to post for a couple of days. So that'd be a good filler material to shout out your team. So just DM us or tell me what it is currently in chat and I'll gladly shout out. But let me round this out. Thank you for watching Crypto Barons. Again, the next time we're going to see is second and third Saturday, so it's going to be the 28th, the last Saturday that before the end this month. You will see me not only for my other show, Crypto Barons, but I should be at max. I might have 3 live streams. We might live stream on Tuesday for Patch Tuesday because we already skipped the Patch Tuesday episode. I have to message someone about that. We're gonna have either the meeting on the 18th or the 19th. The only reason it might happen on the 19th instead is because there is a live stream that I really want to do that I also have to set up for to see if it's even feasible. That we might do on the 18th instead. But literally by Monday, I'll know if it's 18th, 19th, what time, who's speaking, all of that's going to be entirely digital. Next month in March, we are going to go hybrid. So we will stream for an hour, but there'll be a lot of exclusive stuff that's just for the physical meeting. It'll also be our 5-year anniversary. So we're gonna have raffles and fun stuff to do with you guys. I'm actually trying to set up a isolated CentOS box. I know what Piz means. I was making a joke, but yeah, I can shout out your team. Just message us on Instagram and I'll shout it out. But I'm trying to do an isolated, secure CentOS box that basically it's like Twitch. You know, it's like Twitch plays Pokemon. Well, it's more like Twitch hacks every. What's in my hair? The fuck happened in my hair? The fuck is this? What the hell? I got a floof in my hair. Okay. Twitch hacks everything. Where I'm hoping to set up like a secure CentOS box with a terminal that people can log in and just do crazy stuff on. For that's gonna be one of the many things we're gonna try to do for our 5-year anniversary. So I'm excited. Yeah, go be less stinky. I have to be less stinky in a moment. If you're on sadly we can't do the lemons for D Live, but if you're on Twitch, we're about to rate a stream. It's going to be actually cryptocurrency related, but in a very weird way. So I hope you're all excited about this. Say hi to the person who's doing this. That's it for Crypto Barons. I hope you learned a lot today, even especially with me fumbling around both Ubuntu and Kali for bullshit reasons. I'm Sidepocket. If you have any, I have to do this spiel. If you want to check us out, hold on, shit. I'm going to post the website in chat. We are at dcg201.org. You can also use the alternative URLs like defcon21.org. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, GitHub, the host.social instance of Mastodon. We have our own .onion. We have a couple of those links on our website, but I just posted a link tree that has all of our socials, including where you can live stream from. And because there's so many people who have been asking so much that literally I'm thinking of embedding them in the live stream videos, you can also, here's the link to join our Discord. Where you can check out, make it not dead, hang out, talk about hacks. I'm on there occasionally. We're especially on there when on our social media, we're like, hey, we're gonna do a CTF, and that's what we use the Discord mainly for. So it'll be neat. So that's the end of our show. I hope you enjoy the raid on Twitch. I hope you learned a lot today. Thank you for checking out Crypto Barons. I can't wait to see you for the next Crypto Barons on the 28th. That's next Sunday. Sunday that ends February. Can't wait to see you on my other show, Master of Unlocking, on the 20th, and hopefully I can see you at our online meeting on the 18th. So hack the planet. Jersey represents. And remember, peace. Enjoy the music.